All right, so good to be back with you guys. Again, today's theme is how to achieve big goals by tracking your way to success. We've got a stellar lineup today. So excited to get going on this. And our first dialogue is going to take place with a gal that I met in 2004, and she came to our High Trust Sales Academy, and we've known each other for that period of time, and she has just been so fun to watch grow and learn and get better. Her name is Charlotte Ellis. She comes to us from Farmington, Utah, and she is a firecracker of a producer, and we want to welcome Charlotte, you to Sales Mastery Unfiltered this year. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
We are overjoyed. So I don't know where we should start. I don't know if we start with like the whole 80-20 kind of vision concept, or if we start with the whole idea of that's unacceptable. Where do you want to start on this journey? Because we gotta kill this.
Let's start with that's unacceptable.
Okay.
And those words changed my world.
Yeah.
We've had such growth this year. It's just crazy. It's awesome. But I want to give a little bit of background so that you understand where I've come from. For a good decade, I did very well producing 100 million. Couldn't grow that to save my life for various reasons. I blame myself for it. I had the wrong mindset, the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
Didn't surround myself with the right team. I was in the wrong environment. Let myself get in the weeds a lot. You know, the day-to-day micromanaging, and all of those are growth killers, right?
Growth killers. Wow. What are your growth killers? Yeah.
So the aha moment came at your master class, which, can I put a plug in for master class?
Yeah.
Attend.
Period.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It was just a game changer for me. You were speaking about the 80-20 rule and how that laser focus can just change things. And as you were speaking about that, I was replaying my situation, my life, and realized that my focus needs more focus. I was struggling to get out of the weeds. I was a hamster on wheels. You'd taught me years ago about red and green activities, the red being the day-to-day, the paperwork, the green being, you know, what brings business in the door.
Yeah.
That's all well and good and sounds good, but if you just don't have the right situation, the right setup, you're just finding yourself taking the whirlwind and trying to deal with that each day. And that's really what I had done. So wasn't doing much growth. I wasn't as happy as I could be. So I decided that I needed to stop doing those things and focus on what gave me the highest return, just like you were saying on 80-20. What is that in business? It's the relationships. It's the bringing business in the door. It's business development. I love that. I'm good at it.
Natural.
I should be doing it. You told this story of your cute son, 14 years old, the brain trauma, the head injury. Do you want to tell that? Do you want me to
No,
share
you can.
that?
Yeah, you can, because it impacted you.
So cute Matt had this operation. He was in the hospital. I think it was 24 to 48 hours after his surgery. The nurse came in and he asked how long he was supposed to be there. And the nurse looked at the chart and said about 2 weeks. And he said, that is not acceptable. And he said, what will it take for me to get out tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay, he'd just been through this traumatic event. And so they told him what needed to happen, and by darn, he did it.
Yeah.
He's 14 years old. He realizes he's in control. So I realized I can be in control. And I went through and listed the things that I needed to change. You had asked, what is in your life that is unacceptable? What is in your business that is unacceptable? And what do you need to do for those to change? And so I wrote down some pretty crazy, amazing things that I never realized could change. They were heavy-duty things.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that I've done most of them. Let me share a little bit of my personal story, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
My cute family of 4, my husband, my son, my daughter, about 3 years ago, we collectively lost about 200 pounds, okay? We decided to get more healthy and have a healthy lifestyle. And for anybody who's done that, most people, there are rolls and bulges that end up that no matter how many sit-ups you do, they won't go away. So from there, I said, that is unacceptable to have rolls and rolls and bulges. And so after I came home from master class, I booked a liposuction consultation. And I was there, and it was amazing. And they said, yes, you want your stomach done. Yes, you want your legs done, your arms. Yes, add to cart, add to cart. So, I had pretty much everything done. And I did that this summer. I came out of that consultation to my husband. I said, I'm doing this. I can do this. Todd Duncan said I could do this. So I went through that. Was it easy? No. Was it cheap? No. But I have a flat
Was it worth it?
stomach.
Yes.
Was it worth it? Yes. And so what is in your life that is unacceptable?
Yeah.
And what do you need to do to have that change? So then in my business, I had written down things, and I love the notes that I took in the master class. It said, I need to stop doing the things I'm doing and to delegate more. But I've tried that over the years, and I just have not empowered my team to be able to handle those things, so they come back on me. So I put several times role clarity. I needed to get to a point where I had the roles and responsibilities outlined, so everybody knew what they were doing. We spread the workload so that it wasn't all on me, it wasn't all on my production partners, and you promised if we could get through this and nail it, we would have incredible success.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and put some plans into play, and I took some steps. I have 10 steps. You want me to share those with you?
Yeah, but I think before we jump into those, it's really critical for everybody to understand that you all have access to this. I mean, I'll just look you in the eyes and tell you, every one of you can make choices today on what's unacceptable in your business and life. What are the things that continually repeat themselves where you have that little private conversation? It's either like, I wish this wouldn't happen, or I wonder why this keeps happening, or I'm so tired of doing this. And those are all things that signal your negative energy going towards things that are repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. And this idea of focus and this idea of getting rid of all the things that are holding you back. You use the phrase getting in the weeds. You know, sometimes we're so in the weeds, we can't even see where the next step is. And you have to come up, you have to get out of the weeds to be able to see where you actually can go. And I think that's what starts to happen here. And when we think about that's unacceptable, we're thinking about how do we architect our best life and our best business. And without question, every successful person in real estate, mortgage, finance has learned that you succeed by doing less, better, and the less you do are the things that you're skilled to do that produce the greatest growth. And if we could just start adding hours to that and take away the hours that are depressing when we're in the weeds, we can fly as high as we can go. There's no limit, right? So I'd be very curious. I think everybody watching this would be very curious to, what are Charla's 10 steps? But maybe before you do that, without getting too much detail yet, give everybody a sense of how much production you did last year. Just the production number. We don't have to go into anything else right now, because I think that's going to get everybody to pay really close attention to these 10 steps.
Okay, so 2020.
Yeah.
I did break the 100 million.
Yep.
I did 125 million myself. Was that anything I did special? No. I was still flying by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
It was a great rate environment. This year, we're on track. We'll fly by 150 million. And we have our sights set on 200 million, 250 million. And we'll talk about that because we have to slow down to speed up.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, you want to talk about that right now?
Well, I'll let you go either way. You can talk about slow down to speed up, but I need those 10 things too. You decide
Okay.
where you want to start. That's how much I trust you.
Then let's start with the 10 things.
Okay, go.
My 10 steps. First, this is a biggie. I decided to act.
Step
Hey,
one.
I've heard this for years and years. Do it, do it, do it. That sounds good. I can't understand it. It's not the time. Excuses.
Yeah, right.
This time it resonated with me. There at master's class, I realized I can do this. I want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I want to do it anymore. I want to do it. So I decided, my heart and my head connected, and you got to wanna. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the right team on the bus.
Right.
Okay. I had to let some people go, and they are the ones who would choke my dream. It's hard. It is.
Dream chokers. Wow.
And I don't say that easily because it is tough
Yeah.
to have the courage to let someone go who's been with you a long time.
Yeah.
And that was my problem for many years, is I just couldn't see through it. But you have to have the right people on the bus.
100%.
So it is so empowering and thrilling when you have unity and when you have a team that wants to do things and they see this goal and they want it for themselves. Everybody's on the right page and helping each other. That's what you need to get to.
Yeah.
So I have a great team. I have the best team I've ever put together right now. So they're fantastic. The step number 3 deals with that. I shared my vision with my team. It wasn't Charlotte's vision over here, like for years.
Yeah.
This is my vision. Oh, that's nice. You're weird. Whatever. Yeah. But now it's like, guys, this. And for me, my sanity, I need my sanity. I want to finish out my wonderful career with doubling my volume. That's not their dream. So I had to personalize it. And one of my team members had just purchased a new house. If we can figure this out, you'll get to spend more time with your kids in the backyard, picking the peaches,
Boom.
baking cookies.
Emotional connection.
I have several team members who want to buy a house. If we can figure this out, there's your down payment for the house, money in the bank. And then we can start building your portfolio with investment properties. I had a team member who just had a baby. If we can figure this out, you'll get more time with that cute little precious baby.
Oh,
and
sweet.
it was their vision too.
Yeah.
And we love being on a winning team. And so it's exciting. A little aside there too, for years and years I had a business vision. I was coached by Building Champions who made me get one. It was pages long.
Yeah.
Oh, too long. I shortened that to a 1-pager. There are 2 things our team needs to focus on. That is unifying our team and having an amazing customer experience, and everything else follows. So it's easy to remember our team is unified. So those are our first 3 steps. The 4th step is we set a date. This is you and your knowledge and your experience. Tell us about that. You're setting the date years ago.
When I decided to become a professional speaker, I was at a large seminar that had a couple thousand people in the room. And I was just inspired that morning because I'd had a really great run as a mortgage professional. I'd been speaking to realtor, groups and to my own company. And in the middle of that seminar, something clicked in my head, and I said, that's my next career. I'm going to be a professional speaker. So the speaker took a morning break, and I managed to speak to him in the hallway when he came out of the bathroom. And I said, I'm so inspired by what you've talked about today, and I've made a decision. I want to be a speaker. And he looked at me and he said, do you really? And I said, yeah. And he said, hey, hang around all day and come up at the end of the seminar and tell me what you want to do. And I said, okay. So I obviously had to stay the whole day, right? That was like accountability, because if I left, I wouldn't be able to have that conversation. And this guy packed the room. There's 2,000 people there, and he's going to give me some time. So the day is over. He's got a new book. And so there's like 100 people in line, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So I'm in the back of the line, and then I look back and there's about 20 people behind me. And I don't want to get rushed when I get to the stage. I don't want to get rushed and have somebody behind me. So I keep getting out of line. And I get out of line like 5 times. And finally, I'm the last guy in the room. Everybody's gone. It's the two of us. He's 5'6", I'm 6'5". He's on stage, 3-foot stage. We're like almost eye to eye. And so he looks at me and he goes, so you want to be a speaker? And I said, yeah. And he goes, awesome. When are you going to be one? And I said, I don't know, man. I just came up with this idea this morning. He goes, so? And I said, so what are you asking me? He says, listen, if you don't pick a date, you won't have the discipline to drive to your destiny. And I looked at him, I said, awesome. And I paused, and he goes, so pick it. And there was just this awkward silence. And I looked at him, I said, right now? And he said, why would you wait? You want to be a speaker. When are you going to be one? And so I just pulled this number out of the air, and somehow or another I thought, okay, 6 months from now, so take January 7th, add 6 months, I'm going to be a speaker July 7th. He goes, great. Write it in your day timer. I did. He goes, write it on the back of your business card. I did. Hand me your card. I did. And he looks me in the eyes. The parting comment is, if you don't call me by this date to let me know you're a speaker, I'm going to call you and ask you why you haven't held to this commitment. And it was crazy. And 2 weeks before the date, I called him. He wasn't there. Called me back the next day. I still remember Tish, our receptionist, saying through the intercom, Tom Hopkins is on line 1. I'm thinking, holy cow, here we go. And he spent an hour with me on the phone and told me everything I need to do to start the company that we still have today that has made the impact in millions of people's lives. But it was all a date. A date.
Yes. And it creates a sense of urgency.
Because on July 8th, you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to know that you either held to this date or you made some excuses as to why you didn't hold to it. And I said to myself, I'm waking up July 8th a professional speaker, and July 7th is my first day in the business.
So awesome.
So here we are.
And it probably wasn't pretty. It was clumsy. Same for us. But we
Messy.
worked towards it. Yeah.
It was messy.
So number 5 is a lot with that, not to-do list.
Oh,
You've
boy.
taught that before. And the thing about a not to-do list is you can say, I'm not going to do that all day long. But if you don't have somebody in your place to do it,
Right.
it's not going to get done. It's going to come back
Right.
to you. So I had to create this not to do concept, things I wasn't going to do. And there were lots of things that were just time sucks that I said, okay, if I got rid of that, pass that on to someone else, I could spend that time making phone calls, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So that was powerful. We identified who it was and who did it, and that was our date. By such and such a date, I'm going to give these things up.
Yeah.
So that was powerful. Number 6 is role clarity.
Yeah.
I had to identify, and this is where you, in purposeful imbalance, which we'll get to, where you slow down for a minute. I had to create the roles, the responsibilities, who does what, by when, who's the backup, so everybody knew what they did. Now, we had that before, but we fine-tuned it. Because if I'm going to have this work, I need to have everybody with an idea of what's going to happen. So number 7 is training. Then we started training. We started taking time.
Role
We
clarity
had to
first, training second.
We had to learn, how are we going to deal with this in this new environment?
Yeah.
We started not doing certain things. Who does them?
Right.
And so I love the concept of the Top Gun Academy. Top Gun's my favorite movie. Tom Cruise, who doesn't love? Bought some posters for our conference room. We have the Charlotte Ellis Top Gun Academy, because the Top Gun Academy is the best of the best of the Air Force,
Yeah.
where they are awesome. They're just trying to get to that next level. So same with us. So we had held Top Gun Academy, and we learned roles and responsibility and what's happening. So that was exciting. Step number 8 is coaching my team. I was able to coach my team. There for a minute, a couple of team members would say, oh, I'm going to do disclosures because so-and-so doesn't quite do them the way I want them to. And I was able to say, normally I'd say, okay, we got places to go, people to see, do them. Yeah. I said, no, teach him. Teach them what to do. How would you have them be done? And so I'm able to coach my team. Ironically, I've empowered them so well. We've added a new office manager, and my team is now doing training this week to figure out how do we incorporate that individual in to our plan. My cute production partners came to me and said, we have an idea. We want to conduct training so you can do your thing and you don't have to get involved.
Wow.
I cried. I mean, it was so cool. So I'm able to coach my team, to lift them, to bring them up. It's exciting. Then 9 is my selling plan, because what am I going to do with all my time, right? So I had to figure out who I was going to call, what I was going to do, how I was going to block my calendar and track it. We're tracking it with your system on our leads and conversion, how many calls I make each day. So I'm accountable to that. 10, I say, is it a step or not? It's the victory and success. Yeah. The momentum is there. We are on a winning team. The energy in our team is just so exciting right now that those small victories are propelling us to do more. So it's just very exciting.
So talk a little bit about the number 9, the whole idea of watching and seeing how much freedom you have now to sell. Because I think that's why we're doing this, right? If we're talking about big success, if we're talking about this idea of how do you get these big goals and make them happen, you have to slow down to speed up. You have to do some of the hard construction to build a new foundation, and then all of a sudden you're free to fly. And so just talk emotionally about the kind of the aha moment that I have so much time now that I get to sell, because that's how you're going to 250 million.
Oh, and I almost feel guilty saying I have so much time. I have slept more hours than in this last 8 months than I have in 25 years.
Whoa, soundbite. I've slept more in these last 8 months than I have in the previous 25 years.
Listen, my day started 3:34. I couldn't fit everything in. I was awake up before the crack of dawn to get things done. Now I don't have to wake up quite that time. I almost feel guilty saying that. And I am exercising 6 days a week. Can you stand it? I know, and I like it.
Well, you should. You got this whole new vibe going on. It's like, it's so intoxicating to see your joy and your happiness and your...
Oh, it's fun. And so then I had to decide, who am I going to call?
Yeah.
My book of business is such that I have people calling me. And so, honestly, I was a little uncomfortable with, who am I going to call? Can I do this? A little insecurity. Are they going to want to hear from Sharla? And so, yes, they do. I love connecting with these agents that I've not connected with for years, outbound calls to them. And I just am going for it. We have such good things to offer. We have a wonderful process. People need us. So
you have operational excellence, yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
And we get things done, and we're closing in record time. My average loan closes in about 16, 17 days. We are just on fire with high top 5-star reviews. It's a beautiful time to be in the industry. People need us. Yes. And so I'm able to reach out to these agents and my book of business, my CPAs, my attorneys, and I'm finding right now my struggle is fitting everything in, because I want to make 10 calls to agents each day, 10 calls to database borrowers, 10 calls to other, 30. I call it my 10 cubed. I can't quite fit all that in, so I'm now fine-tuning what I'm doing, but I'm making the calls and we're having business come in the door, and we're tracking. Yep. And your system said our conversion had doubled.
Well, so everybody knows, you took your conversion using the training for Masterclass, our system. You took it from like 23%
Embarrassing.
to 48%
Yeah.
inside of 8 months.
Yep.
I mean, that everybody needs to understand that is like Olympic performance to double your yeses without adding any more calls, just doubling who's saying yes.
We're purposely
Boom.
following up on
Yeah.
things. We are speed to respond.
Yeah.
We're answering calls faster.
Yep.
Things like that because I have the time to do
Yeah.
it. So anyway, it's all exciting. My team they understand that if they can keep things from me, I can make more calls and build more relationships, and that helps everybody with additional business.
So talk briefly, as we kind of get to the end of this, talk briefly about purposeful imbalance.
Okay. It's one of those things where you slow down to grow. What? Like turn right to go left. You know what? Lightning McQueen, right? So you have to do that. We were just on fire, but then we added some people, and we had to stop to train to get it right.
Yeah.
So came back as soon as we got it right. We just shot. You've seen my chart and my numbers.
Yeah.
Then I decided to fine tune that because you said 80-20, take your 80-20, nail that, take 80-20 again, nail that, and keep fine tuning. So I've hired a branch office manager that can take further things off of me, further things off my production partners. So those who are originating, helping to originate, can do their thing. Yeah. We need to stop for a minute to learn how we're going to work with each other and who does what and what's the new position going to be. So we're taking a little bit of a pause right this second so that we can then just fly. But you just have to stop for a minute, get everything organized, clean up.
Yep.
I think you said what? The law of the broom.
Yep.
Clean up to go up.
Yep.
And it's real. So because you said it's there, then it's okay.
Yeah. Right.
Todd said, then I'm okay with that.
Well, I think everybody doesn't take enough time to let things settle before we build again. I mean, you got to let the cement dry before you can put in some of the next elements of the foundation, and you do that right, so it's going to hold the structure when you put the roof on. And I think sometimes slowing down is hard for a lot of people in the business, but slowing down is going to give you a perspective that can really change things. So why don't you just take this and explain kind of that whole thing as we wrap this up.
So earlier this year, we were talking about goals.
Yep.
And here I had these big numbers. And I said, sky is the limit. And you said, sky is not the limit. And that got me thinking of, I guess not. It's unlimited. That's my one word this year is unlimited.
Yeah.
It is unlimited. So with your 80-20, to motivate me further, I did a twist on that. I called it 80-20 vision. So that I can remember whatever I do, I need to take 80% of my time to develop these business relationships. I'll find happiness there more than in the weeds. So I created this wonderful, it's kind of beautiful, 80-20 vision. Little crystal.
So unbelievable. Yep.
Gave you one, and all the masters class one, all the elite class one. I have this on my desk, and it is there to remind me. So if I don't do something, if I want to do something that is not consistent with this will remind me of that. My 80-20 vision, 80-20. And so I love it.
Boom.
But it's kind of exciting.
It's so exciting.
I want to share, if I can, a little story. When I was coming here, flying down, I sat by a gentleman on the plane. He was a heavy set on the phone with his AirPods, and he was obviously a manager of sorts, and he had sweat on his forehead. You could tell he was dealing with a stressful situation. He was on the phone to someone on his team. And this needs to go into production now. If we don't get there, we'll have to go to the next shift, and that will be devastating for this order. And he had this exchange back and forth. You didn't get the email from Bob? with adding this new something or other, and he was really frustrated that this guy Kurt didn't get the email from Bob. So he said, just a minute, I'll call you back. He called and realized we have a couple minutes till the door closes. He called Bob, got on Bob for not sending the email. Then he called Kurt back and said, the email's coming. Then he called his receptionist back and said, if Bob doesn't get the email out in 15 minutes, go stand on his desk and make sure it gets out. I'll be on the ground in an hour and a half, and I'll call you to make sure all this was done. And he was obviously worked up and stressing, and I saw that, and I said, that was me not too long ago, where you're just everything, you have to be involved in everything. Contrast that to what I was doing in my seat. I was peaceful.
Yep.
I wasn't stressing. My team had it all under control.
Covered.
I was looking out the window, admiring the weather. I mean, what you have here with this concept of that's unacceptable and the fine-tuning the 80-20, it can give us peace.
Yeah, big
Peace.
Time. Peace.
Peace and happiness.
Priceless.
It's priceless. So those are my words. Don't be afraid. Have courage.
Be bold. Have courage.
Yep.
I want to end with the text you sent me in Q2, and I'll let you tell the story because it was just so powerful. But give everybody a sense of just the lift that you've experienced, from elite coaching and from being a top producer and getting these things right.
Oh, that could be a little emotional. I just feel all these years I've worked so hard.
Yeah.
Finally this year it's paying off with the income coming in and the peace, the team working and gelling together. Income is up. That's what I texted you about. I just had a review by my direct report and just grateful.
Your income is up by over 300%. 300%.
And is it easy? No, it's not easy, but it's worth it. And finally, after all these years, I've done that. So it's nice to be able to work so hard and be compensated for it. It affects my family. It affects our team members. It affects my peace of mind. And, I'm not in it for the money. You're not either. If we were, we'd have a different mindset. I love helping people. I love all that I do, but it is nice to feel rewarded and nice to do that. I'm in the last half of my game. I just want to knock it out of the park and have a life. That's what you promised me in 2004 when we met. I'm like, who is this guy promising that? So I went to your High Trust Sales Academy, and everything you told me then, I didn't listen as much as I do now, but it's so powerful. So I'm grateful to be associated with you.
You sent me a text that you had sent to your husband about this is going to change our life. And it is life-changing. It is the most important thing that we do. And I think that because you advanced then from the academy to masterclass and started implementing like this, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're going to be able to add 7 figures to your already big income making these changes. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, it is. So sky is
not the limit.
The limit.
All right, Charla Ellis, thank you so much for being here.
I love it.
You guys got to pay attention to this girl, man. She's got the magic. You can tell that it's not super complicated. She's the real deal, and I am so blessed. And I know thousands of people are blessed watching you. So
thank you.
Way to go, girl.
So
proud
awesome.
of you.
My
Stay with us, man. We'll be back soon. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're giving away one High Trust Sales Academy ticket. This is a $4,000 ticket for our event that will be held this December in Dallas, Texas. And the High Trust Sales Academy, I believe, is the most forward-thinking, complete playbook that we have designed ever to help mortgage and real estate professionals succeed at scale. Join me for 4 days if you win this ticket, and we're going to go through a 350-page owner's manual on how you can have the life and business of your dreams. Pay attention and engage in the chat window. That's where the contest details are going to be announced.
And we're going to be picking a winner shortly for the High Trust Sales Academy, December 2021.
All right, welcome back. Here we go. We have, just an amazing opportunity to hang out with a guy that I just love dearly. He is one of the most passionate mortgage professionals I've ever met in my life. He is a guy that believes and trusts in high trust. And if I had to create a short list of people on the planet that really, really understand the high trust interview, this guy would be at the top of the list. His name is Cody Hardridge, and he is joining us today for Sales Mastery Unfiltered, and we are going to talk about the art and science of influence. Cody, good to have you here, my friend.
I'm always grateful to be a part of this, Todd, and the high trust community. So thank you for having me.
No, it's so easy and it's so joyful to know that we get to talk about probably the one thing that most people in this business just don't understand. And everybody understands trust. Hopefully everybody understands high trust. But I think everybody gets a little bit tripped up on how do you weave it? How do you make it happen? And give everybody just your story real quick. You've been in the business for a while. And tell us a little bit about how you finished up last year, how this year's going. And,
yeah, would love to.
And then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Sounds good. So yeah, I've been in the business now for about 20 years. And after being in the business for about 8 years or so, just trying to figure things out and find my way, I was introduced to some people who introduced me to you, thank goodness. Yeah. And things really changed for me. In 2011, I attended my very first sales mastery. I believe it was your first year back. And I'll never forget that night, Todd. I mean, you took to the stage and you talked about a concept that I'd never heard anybody talk about. I don't even know if you remember what it was that night, but you talked about owning the clock.
Yep.
And you had a clock on stage with you, and I'd never heard anything like that, and it just blew me away. And some of the ideas, not some of, but the majority of the ideas that I heard during that sales mastery, I went back and began to implement, and I began to get just insane results from it. And within, I believe, 24 or 36 months, my business had grown to the point where you had actually invited me to come and speak at Sales Mastery.
Right.
And so within literally 24 to 36 months, I'd gone from, a guy trying to scratch out a few loans a month to a top producing originator standing on your stage. So it's been an amazing ride. Now I've been in a position where I can share a lot of your teachings with our loan officers internally, add value to their lives and to their businesses. And last year, a lot of us hit personal records. I hit personal records. We ended up funding 510 units for about $115 million. So more transactions than I'd personally ever closed. With our top 5 originators in our group, I think our average, I looked at it this morning, was about 483 units a year. And so it's just been an amazing ride, and I'm just so blessed and grateful to be able to experience this. So
I think it's one of the things I recall about our journey together was when I got a kind of a testimonial text from you. And the part that I really, really honed in on was your comment that, and I feel really appreciative of getting this from you, but it said, "You have changed my family's life for generations."
correct.
And I will never forget those words because it reminds me every day about how important this high trust concept is. And you call it the holy grail of influence.
I do.
Yeah. And I just love that. So what makes it so powerful? First of all, what is it? What makes it so powerful? And how does it translate into boosting like trust and I guess ultimately conversion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Todd, I believe at my core that, the high trust interview really gets to the essence of what selling really is. And I believe selling to be the process of discovering the deepest needs and values of our customers and then delivering that in world-class fashion. And I also believe that the gateway to success in the mortgage business is through the high trust interview. And we could talk about a number of different reasons on why it impacts people. So maybe I'll just give you a few.
Yeah, sure.
So the first thing is that the conversation itself is a pattern interrupt. The entire conversation, okay? When you think through this, every loan officer in the business shows up with a box of donuts talking about FHA loans, conventional, and VA. I can do all of those. It's amazing, right? And so when one of your students shows up and begins to execute a high trust interview, the realtor never knows what even hit them, okay? They're not prepared for it. They're thinking that it's going to be the standard sort of conversation. And I can see the look on their face when I hit them with the first question. You know, when I ask them a serious question and they look at me for a second and realize that I just asked them a serious question that they're going to have to respond, it just changes the entire game, you know? The other piece of it is that they don't know that it's a sales conversation.
Right.
They have no idea what's going on. So it allows me to sit down with someone that I want to do business with and be in 100% total and complete control of the conversation, all the way from hello to yes.
Boom. Hello to yes. So I think it's important to understand that that as the viewer today and anybody that listens, we're not doing something to someone. It's not some sales technique.
No.
What it is a deeply held desire. And this is, I think, where people need to get to. It's like if I really, really wanted to get to know you, then I need to ask questions that allow me to get to know you. And the deeper the questions are, the deeper I get to know you.
Yes.
And I think that's what, for me anyway, interesting right out of the cuffs is, that's the first part of the change is, if I don't know you and you don't know me in a deep enough way, we don't have any assuredness that this is going to work.
No.
We don't know anything. It's like you can't, I guess you could go out on one date and say, you're pretty, I love you, can we get married? But we don't know that even that's going to work, right?
You're bringing up a really good point here, Todd, okay? Are we compatible? Part of my high trust interview, I quote a good friend of mine. He is a New York Times bestselling author named Todd Duncan. And he told me once that if there is no essence between people in business, then no amount of money is going to bring them together.
Yeah.
But if there's essence, then no amount of money is going to keep them apart. Right? I quote that on every high trust interview that I do, and I use it in my transition because I want them to understand that this is not about me interviewing for a job for them. Okay? It's about for us to discover if we have essence between each other. Are we a good fit for each other? Not just me for you, but you for me.
So essence is the same as chemistry.
Correct.
There's an attraction there. We believe in the same things.
Like-minded thinking.
Yeah. And so I guess, I think right now everybody's maybe trying to get back to, we had this great run, and, for the right practitioners are having an even better year this
Correct.
year. But a lot of people are watching the business dip, and I've learned two things. I've learned one, that a lot of people are getting business from people they think they have a relationship with, or they think they have partnership with, and they really don't. When they start to hear what you and I are about to unplug, they really don't. They
Correct.
really don't have what we're talking about here, and so to look at 10 or 15 or 20 business resources, I need to do something to re-engage and to deepen, and then for the rest that maybe don't have that population, it's like I've got to start adding some people, and I want to be selective about it. But at the very essence of the high trust interview, in my mind, it has to become a way of life versus some skill set.
Correct.
So talk about just quote. I think what brings it alive is when you said people aren't ready for it and they don't know it's happening. It's because of the questions that are asked. So I need you to go off on the importance of unique and deep
Yeah.
and real questions.
Yeah. So anytime that I sit down with a potential referral partner, I have a goal to discover their deep inner fire of what is driving them.
Deep inner fire of what drives them.
Correct. And then I'm going to warm my hands on that fire once I've discovered it, right? But the only way to discover that is to ask important questions that matter about things that matter to them, okay? One of the questions has to do with their goals for their business, okay? And this is simple. If someone has no goals, they're probably not a good fit for me, okay? I'm just going to let you know that. If they don't want to become a better version of themselves, then we're not going to align in our thinking. So I'll ask about their goals, and then I'll ask permission to ask a very important and personal question.
So let's just do this right now.
Yeah, you want to role play?
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Let's do it. So, Todd, you've got a fantastic business. You've got a fantastic reputation. You know, we're coming out of 2020, a record year for a lot of us. What are your goals for yourself and for your team moving forward?
Yeah. I think for me, I want to continue to watch us pivot in the new, whatever that you call this.
Yeah.
I want to see the team really, really resonate around how do we take what we do in the old way and continue to dominate and fashion it in the new way without losing connection. I really want to watch us transform digitally. I want to watch us impact more people because we can digitally. And I think for the team, they wake up every day and they get jacked up and excited that this whole thing we've gone through is allowing us now to reach more people more quickly and make more impact more permanently. It's powerful.
So I've heard you say a couple of words in the last few minutes that are really important to me. Do you mind if I ask you a kind of a deep personal question? I know we don't know each other very well.
Yeah,
but
no, go.
Do you mind?
Nope.
What is it that's important about being successful to you?
I love setting goals and achieving them.
Okay.
That to me is where success starts. I don't wait for success to happen. I kind of go after it. So I like setting goals and making them happen.
But what's behind that? Like, what do you get from that?
I guess I get a couple things. I get a pretty deep sense of fulfillment.
Okay.
So when goals are set and goals are achieved, I feel fulfilled. I feel accomplished. I feel blessed. I think that when goals are accomplished, it also gives the whole team a new bar, kind of a new foundation to where do we go from here. At the end of the day, that's probably some of the things: fulfillment and feeling accomplished and blessed.
And why is that important? That feeling of accomplishment. Why do you want to feel fulfilled?
I guess it brings me making a difference brings me a deep sense of gratitude.
Wow.
That is to me when making a difference. Making a difference happens with all those things, and when that happens, I have a deep, deep sense of gratitude.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm getting some cold chills, sorry. So let me just share a little bit about me on this. You know, when I kind of first started this journey, you know, I thought it was about those things. I thought it was about, you know, closing more loans, making more money, having more lifestyle, all of those things. And the deeper I go into this thing and the more I research and discover and talk to other people who have been there, I realize that what's really behind all of that is significance, having significance in the lives of people who matter the most to me, having a positive impact on their lives. And so I get cold chills to hear you talking about those things. I appreciate you sharing those things with me.
Yeah.
So, like I said in the letter that I sent, we are very interested in starting a business relationship with you. But I'm going to be honest with you. We don't start working with anyone until we've had the opportunity to sit down like this. And for me to find out about you, what matters most, how you do business. So with that being said, when you're considering a lender to refer your clients to, what's the most important thing to you?
I would guess that the most important thing for me about that referral to a lender would be having a deep sense of confidence that those buyers are going to be taken care of in a way that really, really personalizes the mortgage experience, delivering like an off-the-grid customer experience, and being, for me, hearing from them that they're delighted because of that referral.
Yeah. I've never heard that answer, so good job on that. That's fantastic. Why is that important to you, though?
I decided a long time ago that I could spend my life prospecting, or I could spend my life taking care of people that already trust me. And when I can refer a buyer that way that has a beautiful experience with a lender because I trust the lender, then I know that buyer is going to be a mouthpiece for me in the marketplace. I don't have to spend a lot of time marketing. I don't have to buy leads. You know, if a lender blows a buyer's mind, and I'm in the middle of that referral, that buyer is gonna bring me more and more business than I could ever dream of. And so the lender experience to me is really, really important because that's the outcome I'm looking for.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you see transactions happen in the marketplace that don't go that way,
All the time.
that go badly and reflect poorly
I
on
see
you?
promises made that aren't kept. I see people hiding behind challenges and not telling me what's going on. I see people, like sometimes it takes hours to get a return phone call. I mean, I don't expect a return phone call in 2 or 3 minutes, but I expect one in an hour or two, and I just don't, just follow up with me. Just let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time. I get really, really agitated when, lenders have a problem and they don't vocalize it. They try to fix it for 3 or 4 days and then they can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're 3 or 4 days down the track. And so this communication and just honesty. I mean, if there's a problem, tell me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see it all the time.
When that
Promises
happens-
made, promises not kept.
Yeah. When that happens, how does that impact you as a professional?
The opposite of what I just said.
Yeah.
Is like if I refer that buyer to a lender and that lender makes a commitment and doesn't honor that commitment, it reflects badly on me.
Yeah.
And I can't afford to have that happen. I can't afford any lender that I refer a buyer to do anything less than exceptional service. Short of the buyer lying, that's my expectation.
Wow.
I'm not going to work with anybody that cannot prove to me that experience is as high to 5 stars as possible.
Wow. Those are some high standards.
It sounds like you have them too.
That's why you are who you are in the marketplace. I guarantee you that.
Yeah,
So from here, I would just go to the next thing. So let's talk about the next thing that's important.
Sure.
And for me, I'm always trying to get 1 to 3 things that matter most for them before I ever do any selling of any kind. Right. One of the important lessons that I learned when I was learning how to do this was that.
So we're not role playing anymore.
No, we're done.
Okay, so just for a second, I want you guys to know we had no idea when we sat down 18 minutes ago that we were going to do what we just did.
No.
And I decided that I would put Cody on the spot because he has flown to my home in Las Vegas to talk about mastering the high trust interview. And I need to put somebody in front of you that has mastered the high trust interview. So if I put him on the spot, we can roll. And I got to tell you right now, I didn't know the questions he was going to ask. And I had to think, just like every realtor thinks, every financial planner thinks, I had to think about my answers. And what I gave him to the best of my ability were the answers that struck me, the answers that I was being triggered to share. That to me was one of the most exceptional, raw, unfiltered, let's just do this. Because I interrupted you.
Yep.
I said, let's just do this. Powerful. So now I think anybody can see that was like a 10-minute discussion. And it doesn't happen to 90% of the conversations.
Correct.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the big misconceptions that loan officers have about the high trust interview is exactly what you said earlier, that it's just some skill, or maybe it makes them feel salesy, but that's really not what it's about. It's about adding value to the lives of other people. And you can't add value to someone unless you know what value matters most to them, right? We have to ask those questions to be able to understand what that is. Success in itself is nothing more than adding value in the lives of other people, right? We've all heard about the stratospheric law of value and of compensation. You know, that our value is going to be based on the level of value that we give beyond what we accept to be compensated for. And then the law of compensation is going to be based on the number of people that we add value to, right? So it really is about helping people. And when I'm sitting down with a real estate agent or a home builder or a financial planner, it's not about me. It really is about them. And I'm trying to look for opportunities to help them to achieve their own goals, right? We've all heard that if, you know, we want success, help other people be successful. Help enough people get what they want, you're going to get everything that you want, you know? And so with my partners, I am very sincere in discovering what it is that matters most and what they want to accomplish in their life and their careers. And then I set off looking for ways to make that happen, to help them or to come alongside them or add fuel to that inner fire, whatever that is. But I want to add value to their lives in a way where they will feel impact from it, right? And they'll feel the significance that I'm trying to bring to the relationship.
So let me throw another question at you, because that feels exactly like the interview should feel. It's like that kind of commonality and that kind of. But let's say you're doing this, and the answer to the question is, you know, I define success by how many leads my lender brings me.
That's interesting, you know, because here's the deal, Todd, is that what they're getting at is reciprocity. Okay, reciprocity is an objection. Okay, it's an objection. It's the same as I already have a lender. It's the same as I've been working with the same people for 20 years and I'm happy. It's an objection. Okay, so when someone comes at me with reciprocity, I'm going to hit them with lost leads. Okay, it's like you pull a knife, I'm going to pull a gun. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
So hit lost leads, because this is huge.
Yeah, it really is. And we can go through this. I actually need a calculator to do it, but we can rough it. You know.
Is your phone on?
I think I've got it sitting over here, but that's okay. Let's
Bring
just
me a phone.
We'll use round numbers to make it easy.
Okay.
Okay. So Todd, that's really interesting. You define success by the number of leads that your lenders give to you. So let me ask you some questions.
Okay.
Tell me, what is your buy-side goal for this year?
Probably 100.
Okay, 100 buy-sides.
Yep.
How many people do you typically need to talk to close a single transaction?
I'm at probably 20%, so 500.
Okay. 500 people to close 100.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and your average transaction here is about 300,000 or so?
Yeah, 300, yeah.
300, okay. So you have to talk to 500 to close 100. That means that there's 400 people that aren't going to buy from you. Do you think that any of those people end up buying from another realtor and another lender?
I'm sure that probably happens.
Okay. So what I would like to do, okay, is talk to you about a system that I've implemented with my existing partners that would help you to convert an additional 5 to 10% of those 400 people. Okay, so let's do some quick math here. Okay, 40 transactions, right? Times $9,000 in commission, right, is $360,000. I'm pausing for a second. I hope that math's right.
I think it is.
So
we can check it real quick. It's unfiltered.
I want to make sure it's not like
So it's
3,600,000.
40 times 300,000 average loan amount, and times what?
9,000.
No, 2.5% or buy side?
What we said, 400, it's basically 40 times 9,000.
Yeah, 40 times 9,000.
360 grand to your bottom line. So that's 40 additional transactions. I'm not talking about leads. I'm talking about funded
Deals.
Funded transactions.
And how does that happen? I mean, I get the 400. You know, we follow up with them. I don't know what that kind of top of funnel thing ends up being, but so how does that happen?
That's a good question. So what you need to understand is that we are the best of the best at buyer conversion.
Interesting.
Okay, I take more mortgage loan applications than any other loan officer in the state. Okay, and I convert more. Okay, more leads to applications to fundings than anyone else. Right, we're very good at what we do. We're highly scripted. We understand the buyer psychology. We know exactly what they want. We know exactly what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. Okay. We also know that there's a certain population of prospective buyers that aren't going to talk to you. Okay. They're not going to want to hear what you have to say, but they're going to be very interested in talking to me. Okay. Which puts me in a powerful position to gain their trust and to cross-sell them on why you're such an amazing agent to work with. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. In addition to that, because of my team, because of the way that I'm set up, okay, I have a machine, right, that is always working, right? And we're going to be able to follow up with your people. We're going to be able to follow through, cross-sell you, just like a division of your business, and be able to help you convert more buyers in less time with less stress. Now, totally up to you. I'm happy to give you $24,000 for Zillow. I'd rather help you get the $360,000, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, my goodness gracious. So, I don't even know where to go from here. It's like totally, I mean, you landed and we didn't have a plan. I had 2 questions to ask you, and neither one of them has anything to do with what we just did, but what we just did is the secret sauce.
That is it. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And this is important, Todd. If I can exceed your expectations on these things that we've talked about today, do you see any reason that you and I couldn't start a business relationship together?
No.
Outstanding. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to working with you.
What's next?
What's next is I want to set up a time so that you and I can sit down and talk about how you want to be referred and how best to refer me, right, to increase conversion, right? I want to sit down and talk about how we can marry our scripting, okay, so that we can get more conversions together.
When? Okay, so this is such a special moment, right here, right now, because I think what's interesting about this, and I'll say it to you guys, is when we were going through this, I felt the emotion. I mean, I literally felt my inside emotion to and I teach this, and you just role played it with me, and there's no way that I could say anything that was like not true. So I know that you, and one of the greatest joys of my life, Cody, is when I watch guys and gals own it at the level of mastery and then teach it to others. What are the 2 or 3 hurdles in your experience as you start to coach other LOs in your company and whatnot? What are the hurdles that maybe somebody watching us today could hear from you, and maybe how to get through that? Where do people stub their toe? Where do people kind of, what are the things that come to mind? And just speak to the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things on this. The first thing is make a commitment to mastery, okay? We don't want to treat this just as a skill, but it is a skill that can be acquired and developed and improved on. And if you can learn this conversation, then you're going to have a strategic competitive advantage over the other loan officers in the marketplace. Okay, you're going to have a strategic competitive advantage over the person that's sitting across from you, to be honest with you, right? They're going to be totally unarmed, and you're going to be armed in this deal. I remember when I learned this, I practiced it over and over and over again. And I've used the analogy of Academy Award-winning actors before, and the amount of time that they spend practicing for that award-winning scene, right? And as loan originators, oftentimes we make a lot more money than actors or doctors or lawyers or anyone else. So it's like, how much time have you spent practicing the one skill that can change the trajectory of your career and your life?
Forever.
And that's what we're talking about here. So I have coached people, I have mentored people who know how to do this. However, there are elements of it that are missing, okay? And so get a partner, get someone to practice this with, role play, just like you and I were. It's someone that'll be honest with you about your delivery, give you feedback, and work on this until you reach that level of mastery, right? Until you can sit down and intuitively know how to handle any situation that a referral partner is going to throw at you, right? Situations that would baffle the common salesperson is intuitive to you, if that makes sense. So just continue to practice and hone your skills until it comes to you intuitively.
Well, and not only intuitively, but then and maybe it's the same word, but it becomes natural. And
Correct.
what you just did was natural.
Correct.
And I think everybody has to get to the point where they, that truth that we talk about in the academy, that, if you don't practice more than you play, when you play, you will look like you haven't practiced.
Correct.
And you were game ready for that because we did not know we were going to go there. It was
Correct.
totally spontaneous. And so everybody watching this, they're going to be game ready because you will have set an appointment to have this conversation. And so that's part of the practice thing. I have one more question as we wrap it up. And I'm thinking like, you have different social styles, right? You have drivers and you have expressives and amiables and, fast thinkers and slow thinkers. And you could, if you really master this, you could do it in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And yet, if you go deeper on some of the answers, it could go out. What's the range, would you say? Because it's probably different all the time,
This is a great question.
But I remember something you said.
Yes.
You said this, I think 3 years ago in Elite, you said, I really want, I get paid to influence. Those were your words. I get paid to influence. I get paid to add enough value to influence people to yes. And I think you said, I'd like to be able to do that in 15 minutes. If you ask the right questions, it may not take longer than that, right?
I agree. If you ask the right questions, it won't. However, what can happen is if you are sitting across from a perfect match,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
then time goes away.
Yeah.
And I've experienced this before. Okay, my number one partner is a gentleman that I met 8 or 9 years ago. He was, just an individual agent, scratching, trying to make his business work. We sat down for what is typically a 1-hour meeting, and were kicked out of the place we were after 3.5 hours.
Jeez.
And we didn't even realize that the time had passed because we were such a good match for each other. When we asked the question, like we were both, it was just cold chills and everything else. He's one of my most loyal partners. Now he's the number one agent in my metro area and has one of the most powerful teams there and one of the most influential teams. And so we've been able to actually grow together. So can I do it in 15 minutes? That's great. But I would almost rather sit down with someone that's a model match and get into a flow state with them, and
We
go
tell
as
everybody
deeply as we
30 to
can.
45 minutes,
Yeah.
and you can really add a lot of meat to the bones when you're connecting and asking
Yeah.
great questions. And now, I didn't ask the question because I want to tell everybody to do it fast.
Right.
But I want to ask the question because I think at the end of the day, this is a new skill for most people to add meat to the bones, to really understand what people need and to go deep and deep and deep and deep and to feel that, to feel the goosebumps, feel the connection, because then you know something magical is happening.
That is exactly
And
right.
that's why those relationships then end up lasting so long and why loyalty is so high.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the next piece of that, is the presentation phase of it. Once we've asked those questions,
Yeah.
forming a presentation. By the way, the answers to the questions are pretty similar.
Yep.
You're going to hear a lot of the same things
Yep.
if you interview a lot of real estate agents and home builders like I have. And so you can be prepared, right?
Right.
And prepare solutions, not just solutions, but compelling solutions to their deepest needs and
Right.
values.
Yep.
And when you can do that and at the same time answer what you do, how you do it, and why you do it, when you get through the why you do it, that's when you're going to start hitting the cold chills with them. That's when you're going to start getting the emotional connection. That's when they're going to feel inspired. That's when the influence happens, is whenever you are able to solve for those things that matter most for them.
Which is the whole goal in our business is you need to be in the solution business. You need to be a solutionist. You need to, and people will tell you where they have pain and they'll tell you how they'd like you to solve it. And all you have to do is solve it.
That's
Go
it.
figure out how to solve it. And
Go
it's
execute at a high
It's
level.
a beautiful thing. Yeah. Wonderful 35 minutes, my friend. It was so exciting to have you here and to do raw and real. The Hydro Sales Academy changed your life.
Oh, yeah.
Tell everybody in 60 seconds why they ought to consider the December program that we're doing in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, absolutely. Number one, I'm going to be there. That's the first thing. Okay, you're close enough to my hometown that I can actually drive this time. No, seriously though, we're talking about how to do the high trust interview. The only place that you can go and really learn this skill and be around other like-minded people that are well-versed and can help you through it is really at High Trust Sales Academy.
Yeah.
Like if you want to make a difference, go to that. We send every single loan officer that we have to it. I go. And the interesting thing is, even after 20 years in the business, I've never gone to Sales Academy and not walked away with a major insight. I don't care who you are. We all go through different seasons in our businesses. Right? And you may go the first time and something be impactful for you and go 3 or 4 years later and your business is in a different spot. You're in a different season.
Hear something new, yeah.
And be totally blown away by something else. And that's been my personal experience.
Yeah.
So if you want to acquire these skills and be taught at a professional level how to do these things, then High Trust Sales Academy is the only place to do it.
Boom, 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 boom. All right. Wonderful, wonderful time together with Mr. Cody Hardridge, dear friend, and an awesome, awesome mastery practitioner of this skill. It's been a joy.
One of the most important things I think every human being does is really just ask him or herself, am I at my best right now? And if you're really honest with yourself, you're never at your best. You're always getting better. And I believe that to be true. And I believe that the way in which you become better faster is when you have somebody by your side guiding you, teaching you, shaping you, and holding you accountable. I think a lot of people misconstrue accountability as something that's punitive when in fact it's the most powerful form of betterment and growth that you can ever have. And when you have a coach by your side who understands the practice you're trying to master, you can cut literally years, if not decades, off your learning curve. And I know, Cody, that you're a big believer in coaching. Talk about the investment in coaching and what it means in terms of ROI. I think about Dominic. I think about, I think about that. So what's your 2 cents on coaching, the Todd Duncan coaching system?
Well, I think that it's important, first of all, to have a coach, okay? I mean, the highest level players in the world will have multiple coaches for every area of their life, right? And it's because they have an innate desire to want to be better and continuously improve. But, for me, a coach is someone that acts almost like a lens, right? Helping me to bring focus to what my next action needs to be to reach the thing that I want to reach, right? Or the goal.
Beautiful.
Right? And so that person is there to light the way. They're there to challenge me when I need to be challenged. They're there to help me dig up my own insights that are there that I need to bring to the surface, right? One of the things that I've learned from coaching other people is that the true source of motivation is your own insights, right? The things that you know to be true, but someone else needs to help you to bring that to the surface. And so it's important for us to have those people in our lives that are asking us questions, right? And really helping us to stay on the path. We've heard the analogy of, a plane flying across country is off track 90% of the time, right? And if the pilots aren't watching the gauges, right, then they could end up, in Florida when they were supposed to be in New York, right? We have to have somebody that acts as a third party to make sure that we are on track and moving towards the thing that we said we wanted to accomplish. And what I love about your group and what you're doing is that it's steeped in the high trust methodology, right? It's the only place that you can go where they are specializing in building and scaling businesses that are based on trust. And so I just think it's a wonderful opportunity and would encourage really any loan officer who is looking to grow their business, anyone who's looking to be a better version of themselves, have more life balance, to engage at whatever level they are. If they're at the beginner level, then get in on the lower level coaching stuff to get started and get your business going. If you've got stuff going and you're trying to get to that elite level, then get in with us on Masterclass, right? And for the guys and gals that are operating at the highest of the high levels, join us, right? In Elite. I love being a part of Elite. I don't get to be around a lot of people that are operating at my level, and so getting around those people,
It's huge.
right?
Yeah.
Especially when they're doing more,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And they're doing better, right? It helps me to get off of the top of my little pyramid and realize that, hey, there's some taller pyramids around. I need to
Right.
go find those and start climbing them. So I need to be influenced by people that are doing more, having more impact, more success than I am, right? So I can understand what's possible and be inspired to push myself to that next level.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great vibe. All right, guys, that's a choice you get to make. Click below on the free coaching consultation. There's no strings attached. We're here to help you win. We want you to have your best life. We want you to fall in love with your life. That's what we do. We wake up every day wanting to make an indelible, transformative impact in how you experience life one day at a time. So come join us in coaching.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's good to have you at Sales Mastery Unfiltered on day 2. Today's theme has been about big goals and making those goals happen. We do that by skilling up, achieving a level of mastery, tracking what we do, and we make a lot of intelligent decisions around business planning. I get this chance right now to showcase a good buddy of mine that personifies, I think, how to do this in business and how to do it in life. In fact, one of the things that he wakes up every day speaking to in his morning mantras is, what's the point of dreaming big if you're not prepared to live big? And we're going to spend 30 minutes with my good friend Wally Elibieri from Dallas, Texas. And Wally and I are going to have some discussions that are going to blow your mind. It's good to see you, dude. See you too. Yeah, welcome to town. So I'm just going to put this up in front of everybody. This is Wally's business plan for 2021. I'm not gonna get into it, but it's probably a good 30 pages long. And this year, their goal is to impact 702 households. They're going to do $210 million in volume. And let me just tell you, this guy does not set a goal and miss it. So good to have you here. Good to have you here.
Having me. Small correction. So our whole team's business plan. It's like 2 pages.
Yeah, but you're part of the team, and then for everybody on the team, you have their business plan. It all rolls up. Absolutely. Yeah. But you know what? That leads us into this conversation. Yeah. That you're the leader of a team, and you've built the team, and you have figured out how to have the team help the whole team win. We're going to have some discussion with you later in the Sales Mastery program about some of those team building skill sets. But I think what I'd love to do with you today is, ever since I got that first testimonial from you that said, you know, I've bought 36 rental properties, blah, 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 and I live off of 25% of my income, blah, 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 and I take 15 weeks off a year, blah, 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 blah. Right? Blah, blah. No, because it's like this essence of, wow, because when we think about being in the mortgage and real estate profession, what we have to be thinking about is, what are our metrics? What does our life look like? Like, what are we doing to build income, and what are we doing to ultimately build wealth? And how do we do that in a way that we have this, you know, kind of balanced approach to living and playing? And we had a guy yesterday that, you know, Todd Heath, and he was talking about, you know, I center my business around my life, not the other way around. I don't let life happen, you know, when business is done. And so there's this great balancing act. So that's the setup.
Well, I mean, the biggest.
Go ahead. This is unfiltered.
So Todd gives me way too much credit, as he always does. Okay, so first thing, let me kind of walk you down memory lane and tell me if the story gets too long. So we do Sales Mastery. It's like 2015. I think that year our team did about $80 million in loans, and he has me on stage. Obviously, of course, I cry on stage like I always do. And it was such a great experience. Well, I was a phony. I'm going to say that again. I was a phony. What I mean by that is, I got all these trophies, got all these accolades, and all these people were so proud of me, but I was not as present as I needed to be as a father, not as present as I needed to be as a husband. And a wake-up call that I had, I've got 2 boys. One just turned 16, and the other one's 14. So Braden's 16, we call him Braden the Brave. And Alexander's 14, his name is Alexander the Great. We're going to Disneyland that year of 2015, and we're going as a family. Well, I'm leaving the bedroom, walking out the foyer, I've got my luggage bag. And Alex comes up to me and goes, "Oh, Dad, you're coming with us?" Yeah. He was so used to me not being there that I had to do something different. The team was built so I can be a better father and a better husband, but still was able to feed the juices that I have as a professional. And that's where I feel, unfortunately, this business can eat you up, spit you out. And if it's one of these things that I wanted to be a better father and I wanted to be a better husband, and I still wanted to be a great professional at our craft. But the team was built, and the leverage around the team, the lifestyle came from them and bringing up teammates that, it's crazy that we'll do over $200 million this year in loans, which is absolutely some crazy number. Well, we're already working on a business plan for 2022, and it's over 300 million, over 1,000 households helped. And what's beautiful about it is it's the team now taking it to the next level. It's not me, and that's why that business plan, it's 30 some odd pages, and I'm just 2 of them. So, I explain that well?
Yeah. And, this is unfiltered, and oftentimes we don't know where these things are going to go. But I just have to tell you guys, as you think through what I opened up with yesterday, as you think through why matters and why your purpose counts. And I told you yesterday, I want you to be curious, and I want you to be thinking at new levels. And part of that is making sure that to the extent you can control everything that you have control over, much of what you don't have control over, but what you can control, this idea of purposeful focus, this idea of understanding that we make these series of choices every single day, and pretty soon, if we don't make the right choice, we feel like Wally's just explained, and we can have all the external success, we can have all the accolades, we can have the plaques and all of that, but the things that matter most are not getting addressed or taken care of. And one of the things that I like to tell people is the longer a priority is ignored, the more of a priority it becomes. And you have to make a decision whether that is going to make you or break you. And if you don't address the big priorities, we used to call them the crystal balls in life, your wife, your husband, your kids. If you don't address that, there really isn't any value in achieving the monetary success that we know we can achieve in these industries that we're in. And so I appreciate you being vulnerable and authentic. And Deb and I talk about you all the time. And we really do. And you have been transformed over the last 6 years. You have gone from a Wally that is proud, and we should be proud of what we do. And you have become an authentic, transparent human being that is still crushing it. But you have a different sense of purpose now, and you're living a different type of life, which is a bonus. It's beautiful.
It's so easy to be loving and warm and friendly when you have your sanity.
Yeah.
When you're working 15, 18-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, I was not very enjoyable to be around. If I was home, I was mentally thinking about work. If I was at work, it was just all focus, and I was so driven. But I feel I'm so much more happier now, and my relationships are so much more authentic now because I actually have the time to have authentic relationships and make those deposits.
Yeah, awesome. Well said. Well said. And that whole idea of deposits is, you've probably heard the analogy, but I remember Ken Blanchard, one of the great authors of all time, the 1 Minute Manager, Raving Fans, Big Bucks, Gung Ho, just a great guy. He's in his late 80s now. And he used to say that you need to make 4 times the deposits compared to the withdrawals. And he's talking about human relationships. He's talking about when you have your kids and you have your wife or your husband or your partners, you need to praise them. You need to make people feel good. I did an Instagram post the other day that got a whole bunch of likes, and it said, "Parents, tell your children you're proud of them now." And that's a deposit idea. That's the idea that, we need to make people feel good about themselves. And we do that, and we feel good about ourselves. So, yeah,
And
powerful.
also, I've got 2 boys. They barely do what I say, but they do everything that I do. They barely do what I say. The problem with 2 sons with a strong verbal father is they are so well scripted, it's not even funny. To the point where I'll toss in the white towel. But they will barely do what I say, but they'll definitely do what I do.
That's powerful too. It's another Simba moment where you got the big lion and the little cub, and the text is, "Be careful what you do because somebody is watching." And here's the little cub growing up, right? It's just all right. So I think it was about 8 weeks ago or so we were down in Cabo, and you were part of our elite group, and elite coaching is just been unbelievable to watch what we do. And I think we're at a point as a group where what our excitement is having these kind of dialogues so that the thousands and thousands of people out there that are doing loans for a living, that are, selling real estate for a living, can start to see that there is this different kind of pathway that maybe they should be open to. And you've been a thought leader, I think, for a long time, and you're even more powerful today because you're talking about things that I think matter a lot to people. And one of the things we talked about in Cabo was an idea around when we think about labor into a business and we think about revenue out of a business, our entire coaching company is about helping originators and real estate agents earn more money per hour, not because it's about the money, but it's because the labor is labor. Either way, you can put the labor in and make $1, or you can put the labor in and make $10, or you can put the labor in and make $100. Whatever we do, we have to start to think about the labor revenue exchange. And in the perfect world, it gets down to the point that I always ask people, like, if you stopped originating loans today, would you have a sustainable income? If you stopped selling real estate today, would you have a sustainable income? And that broke loose a moment that you took over in Cabo, and you got up and you went to the flip chart and you started writing, I guess, formaically, a couple of ideas about what that looks like. So I want to let you just teach on that for 5-10 minutes or so, and tell your story a little bit, and then let's see what kind of interaction we might have.
Yeah, Todd asked us to pick a word, and the word that I picked was leverage. And the reason why I picked leverage was, again, it goes back to my 2 sons and being a better husband. But I've built such a great team around me that they make me look way too good, and they deserve a lot more of the credit. But that all came from one mindset. In my 20s, I learned a craft. So I started the mortgage business when I was 19 years old. Today I'm 42. So 19 years old, in my 20s, I learned to be rookie of the year. I learned the business of how to be really great at a craft. In my 30s, I learned how to be, well, let's break it a little further. The head quarterback is a big the Patriots, studying the Patriots. I'm not a big football fan, but just talk about the Patriots. So Tom Brady, head quarterback. I studied and learned how to be the head quarterback in my 30s. Now, in my 40s, I want to be Bill Belichick. I want to become the head coach. In my 50s, I want to become the Robert Krafts, the owner of the business. I have to develop, and I have to be okay with falling back behind the curtains, which is super hard, super duper hard as a loan officer, where it is like you want the trophies, you want to be on the stage, but like I'd rather be home with my 2 sons and my wife than get all the trophies in the world. So being the head coach is the vision that I have. So every mindset, every decision is built around that. Is this a head coach activity? Is this a head coach task? Is this a head coach solving a problem? Or is it like the head coordinating coach? Or is that the defensive coach? You want to understand what you're doing on a daily basis. And Todd asked me to do an activity once, which I thought he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But it's probably some of the best advice he ever gave me. He said, work for 55 minutes, write down what you did for 5 minutes. Work for 55 minutes, write down what you did for 5 minutes. And he asked me to do that for a week, which felt like an eternity. Then he even challenged me a little bit more and said, hey, do that the last week of the month. Because we can all be great the first, second, third week of the month, but the last week of the month when you've got a ton of closings, that's when the blank hits the fans, as we all know, right? So we went through it, and as Todd's coached me, we met when I was actually 20 years old. We've got a long-term friendship. And we went through it, and this started highlighting in red, yellow, and green. If you know Todd, he teaches the philosophy of red time is your non-dollar productive activities. Yellow time is what leads you to having dollar productive activities, and then green time is dollar productive activities. So as I learned to have 50% of my day green time, 75% of my day green time, now 95% of my day is green time. It is literally 95% of my day is green time. we'll leave yearly incomes out of this conversation. But when Todd challenged me that, my hourly wage, what I made per hour, is about $145 an hour. Now my hourly wage is about $2,700 an hour. And that conversation we had was roughly about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I enjoy so much more. And it's super cool that, I pay millions of dollars in commissions out to my team, and I'm totally okay with that. Unfortunately, this business taught me, and I don't know if it taught you that way, but it taught you your pride comes from your W-2. Your pride comes from your accolades and your trophies.
Yeah.
What I've learned is my pride comes from the smiles of my kids and being home and being a present father and being a present husband.
So let me jump in for just a sec, because I think everybody is probably, at least as they heard you, like jaw drop, right? And one of the things that we set this conversation up to really address, and one of the things that we are completely passionate about, because we see that what's at stake for people is life. I mean, really, it is a sad commentary on a business that is not run the right way, and to see how it robs people of their life experience, right? And so when we went through an exercise, like, what do we do as a company? We came up with, we help people fall in love with their life. And one of the ways that you fall in love with your life is you watch the value of your labor expand. Mm-hmm. And when you just went through, when you did that exercise and you were making $145 an hour, and now it's $2,700 an hour, and you look at that journey over 7 years, what we know for sure is when people start to do that and they really understand it, the zeros that they add to their hourly rate and the numbers that they add to how much they're making, it's extraordinary. And we have hundreds of people that in 1 year go from $100 an hour to $800 an hour because they get this exercise. And what I want everybody to understand is, as we're going through this is the real deal. This is what the opportunity is. There's nothing in any agreement you have with your company. There's no ceiling to what you can make. There's no requirement to say, I got to work this many hours. You get to decide what you want your life to look like. You get to decide, if I'm going to give a minute of lifeblood, that minute is gone forever. And you can either choose to give that minute away to a red activity or a yellow activity, or you can choose to do what Wally and Cody and the guys and gals that we talked with yesterday do, and that is, you know what? The minute has to matter. And I'm not going to give my minute away to stuff I'm not good at. I'm not going to give my minute away to stuff that can be delegated less expensively than it's costing me. And I'm not going to give my minute away to people that rob me of my joy and my happiness and my time. I'm going to work with people that I love. They're going to love me, and we're going to do business at level 10. And I get fired up on this thing because I watch too many people crash and burn, and it is sad to me. It is sad to me to watch people labor for 40 years and get done what they could have gotten done in 10 years if they just paid attention to this. And this is the real deal. This is what life is about. It's not about how many hours you work. It's not about how many plaques you have on the wall. It's not about that at all. It is about the joy and happiness that you experience because you're smart about how you exchange time for revenue. And you don't do it because the money's important. You do it because the life's important, and money buys you margin. And margin is freedom. And that sets up our conversation.
Yeah. Man, what we have to all understand is there's a quote that I read a long time ago. Unfortunately, I don't remember who wrote the quote, but it might have been Roosevelt. He said that I'd rather make 1% on 100 people's efforts than make 100% on my efforts. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is so simple, but it changed how I thought. It changed, again, the lenses I look through. Yeah. And once you have that kind of mindset, Todd, we broke down numbers. We're in Cabo, and I've got a very blessed income, and having a 7-figure income plus. But what's beautiful about my income today, 77% of every dollar in my W-2 or my tax returns, my income, is residual. When you look at the world, when you look at 23% of my income is earned income, that means, hi, my name's Wally. I want to help you to get a mortgage. What's your birthday? What's your social? What we all do for loans, high trust interviews and such from there. But when 77% of my income is made off three things: my coaching to my team, our loan officers in our branch, the model and the platform that I built, building a model and teaching teammates how to follow that model and being brave enough to keep them accountable to the standards of that model, the standards of the brand that we built. And the third thing is the culture. You know, there's a mistake that I'd make earlier in my career was when a teammate would be struggling, my response is, okay, let me dig in, let me pull my sleeves, let me help you. And what I learned, unfortunately, I was hurting them more than I was helping them. And I read a quote that really stuck with me. And it said, your opportunity is your responsibility. Your opportunity is your responsibility. That's the culture that we built. I tell teammates, I have no problem telling teammates, I'm wealthy. I'm sorry, I am. With that being said, if you don't succeed, my life doesn't change a quarter of an inch. I'm still gonna go home with my wife, I'm still gonna go home with my kids, I'm still gonna have my same lifestyle. But your opportunity is your responsibility. And that created a culture that everybody jumped in, and not some person get 50%, the other person get 50%, and that was so 100%. But everybody gave 100% and plus some. And I'm really super duper proud that I've got two teammates that, you know, combined will make over $1 million this year. That is something that I am super proud of. And I've challenged them. I said, within the next 5 years, you guys are gonna make $1 million a year each. And I'm gonna make sure of that, but it's your opportunity because it's your responsibility.
Wow. So one of the things that we were talking about in Cabo, and I don't think a lot of people understand this, and it has a lot of different application, but the application of wisdom, right? And what we roll up under residual, right? And so when we look at the goal long term for everybody, if we just keep this at a very high level, is every year watch your residual income go up and watch your earned income go down. Okay? You don't have to even change the earned income if you don't want. Just keep increasing residual, right? Or do both. But what residual comes from in the case of being a leader, of having a team, is how you use your wisdom to build that team. Because if you build that team because they thrive on your knowledge and your wisdom and your thought leadership and all of that, then they go and do what you are teaching them to do. And every time you do that, it produces revenue for you, residual, and produces revenue for them, earned. And then what you do is you go from like the quarterback thing to the head coach to the owner, and pretty soon your residual ends up being, you know, maybe it's 80 or 90, or shoot, it could be even higher. And that's the goal. The goal is to watch revenue come in with labor being reduced, and the only way you do that is with wisdom and teaching and growing others into responsible positions.
I mean, I asked Todd to keep me publicly accountable, and I'm going to ask you. I'm 42 years old. I'll be 43 in November. By the age of 45, I've got a goal to be 90% plus income residual.
Yeah.
90% of my income, $9
out of every 10.
100%. And that, you got to have that mindset, right? I'm thinking for that vision of that. I was coaching a loan officer in our branch yesterday. And I told her, we're talking about her assistants, and I said, an assistant helps you do more loans. A teammate helps you do more loans and gives you your time back. That's a completely different mindset. Once she digested that, it sunk in where she really understood that her leadership needed to step up because she needed to keep her team more accountable. And that's where this business will suck you dry. And when you get home and you're giving, I won't say you, I was giving my family very little of me because I had very little of me left. And it's super cool to have dinners with my family, which is so simple, so simple. It was 2014 Sales Mastery. Your word for that, do you remember what it was? unacceptable.
That's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. And I stood up, cried again. I go to Mike, and I get on there and I say, it is unacceptable for me to miss dinners with my wife and kids. It is unacceptable for me to be working until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and go home while the kids are asleep and wake up at 4 a.m. and go back to work. And when you're able to learn, to make an income off the 9 inches between your ears versus your biceps, it's a complete game changer, because if you look at, my income is 3x'd over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
3x'd. Yeah. And it's been super fun because my team's income's also 3x their incomes, where now we build a residual income stream within our team for our database, where if you're on my team more than once you get to 5 years, you're making a residual income stream, a 6-figure residual income stream from the pipeline that we close. That's super cool. Like building an annuity within your team, and building that annuity within your team of helping them make residual income off their mentorship and their leadership to the next level that they're rising up.
Yeah. So we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left. So one question I have, and I always want to do this because we have, if you look at just, the global audience, right? There's far more people wanting to get better and grow that are not yet at the income level that, we are, Elite is at. But we all started somewhere, right? And I remember the first time that my mentor told me to do the hourly kind of rate thing, it was, I was embarrassed. I think it was $90 an hour or something like that. And I asked him what his was, and he said it was $1,100 an hour. And I'm going, wow. And this is like in the 80s, right? $1,100 an hour is a lot of money. And so I guess what I would say is, I was talking with somebody recently that he reminded me that when he came to the academy, I told him after we had everybody do their hourly rate, his was $19 an hour. And I said to him, I said, you now hold the record for the lowest hourly rate that we've ever seen at the academy. That guy today is making $2,000 an hour. And he came to the academy 4 years ago. I bring this up because there's a lot of $19 an hour people out there right now, $20 an hour. If you go to the U.S. Labor Statistics panel on .org or .gov, the average income for a loan originator in America is about $30 per hour. The average income for a real estate agent in America is about $40 an hour. So I would like somebody who's at nearly $3,000 an hour to tell the group that's at $40 an hour, what should they do for the balance of this year to get set up for next year?
Step one is look yourself in the mirror and look at the person that you're looking at and say, you're worth more. Mm-hmm. You are worth more. I'm going to say it a third time. You are worth more. Wow. The biggest thing about that is the mindset you have to have. I can sit here and give you all these motivational speeches and this and that, but if you don't have the right mindset that you are worth $1,000 an hour, or that you're worth $5,000 an hour, whatever it is, $100 an hour, you'll never get to the point for you to go from $50 an hour to $100 an hour. Step one, you're worth more. So that's the first thing. So now we've built the foundation. And think of this as a pyramid. Okay, and I say that because I was born in North Africa, Egypt, so pyramids. All right, so the bottom level, the foundation, is you're worth more. Once you understand that, what's great about the second level of that pyramid is your daily activities. Your daily activities and the habits that you do on a daily basis. I know you're going to want to pull your hair out, but you have to do the exercise that Todd said. And that exercise is work for 55 minutes, write down what you did for 5 minutes. Work for 55 minutes, write down what you did for 5 minutes. That, once you do that exercise, you'll see so many activities that you do that you don't need to be doing. Unfortunately, for so many years, us loan officers, myself included, was the processor's assistant. Simple as that. And I remember Todd saying, if you don't have an assistant, you're your own assistant. Yeah. That's number one. And when you think of the team that you're able to build around you, and if you're making $50 an hour, you probably don't have an assistant. But with that being said, that second level there is your daily habits. And once you look at your daily habits and identify that, now the third level is keeping yourself accountable of what changes are. So for example, I've gone to Todd's Academy, gosh, I don't know, 7, 8 times.
7, 8 times, yeah.
And every time he'd talk about time blocking. And I'd come back to Dallas and I'm going to time block. I'm going to do this great. And within a week, I was like, and I'd fall off the horse. I'd get back on. I'd fall off again. You've got to figure out what works for you. What works for me won't work for you. What works for you won't work for me. Who knows? But I started using my calendar. And I'm a super duper accountable person. So I use that against myself. What I mean by that is I used it against myself as if I was supposed to be prospecting time, I'd make a calendar invite with me and my branch manager and my boss, whoever that was, the mentor I had at work. They knew when I was supposed to be prospecting. So if I'm hanging out by such and such office and it's during their prospecting time, they knew that. They're busting me on that. So today, my calendar, if you've seen my calendar, any of Todd shows, it is literally every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes, there's increments. I have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 to 23 appointments a day. Now, those appointments are built around accountability. They're built around timers. The little ding goes on my phone. I've got 5 minutes until my next appointment, so I make sure I wrap that up. So once you believe that you're worth more, once you figure out what habits that you have right now, and you replace that with new habits that you feel are customized to you and that will work for you, I think that's a game changer. Then you go build on that.
It's simple and it's hard. It's conceptually simple to hear. When you get into it, it is a new muscle. And what we know from forming new habits is you've got to really get back to what we talked about on day one in the morning, why works. And when you get really clear on your why and you get really clear on what drives you, you're going to get really clear on these activities that are robbing you of your purpose, that are robbing you of your why. And you know, it's like you also say you have a screensaver, and on your screensaver there's many things, but one of the things I like is Rome wasn't built in a day.
It was built. Rome was built in a day. However, it was built day after day after day after day. Wally, keep building.
Boom.
And there's 3 affirmations I've told myself for the last 7, 8 years. And today, it really shapes the lenses I look through every single morning. 1 is what we just discussed. Number 2 is, Wally, what's the point of dreaming big if you're not brave enough to live big? And that, to me, gave me the confidence that I was worth more. Yeah. You go to all these classes, you see Todd, you're so wild, you watch these shows, you're just so wild, and you get back to your life, and man, I was a wuss. I'd get scared. I'd have call reluctance. I'd be afraid until I started saying, why am I even going to these classes if I'm not brave enough to execute from these classes? And the 3rd affirmation I tell myself every single morning is how I shape how I see myself. And it's your questions are piercing, your answers are motivating, your presence is commanding, your success is untouchable. Your questions are piercing teaches me to be a better listener. Yeah. And it taught me how to listen to understand versus listen to respond. Once I listen to understand and truly digest what the other person is sharing, it could be me and Todd playing golf and talking, or it could be me learning from Cody Hardridge, which is sitting back there. Hi, Cody. The biggest thing you've got to understand is how you view you. How you view you is 99% of your opportunity, not your challenge. It's 99% of your opportunity.
Powerful. What a great 35 minutes, man. Rock star. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah. Awesome. So, you heard it right there. And I want to pose a question to you. Have you ever just stopped for a moment and thought, like right in this moment, I'm going to be somewhere in 7 years? maybe I should decide today where that is going to be. You know, and Wally's mentioned 3 times in our time together that 7 years ago, 7 years ago, 7 years ago, but he's been in the business for 22 years. What I would like to inspire you to think about is the future's coming. And it's very sad to me to watch people that don't prepare for the future, because when it arrives, it's too late. And you got to be thinking right now about, I've got one gift that is absolutely irreplaceable, and that is the gift of life. And with the gift of life is the gift of time. And time is irreplaceable. And every minute you squander away, and every day that you're not focused, and you know, every moment or month that you don't have a plan that you're following is a moment, a month that's gone forever. And what I really, really get sad about is people that tell me, I wish I had, 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 I wish I had. You know, we all have probably some regrets we'd like do-overs on. But isn't it better to really orient your life and your compass around this idea of, I'm glad I did, I'm glad I did, I'm glad I did, I'm glad I did, I'm glad I did. Because either way, you're going to be somewhere tomorrow that you're not today. And I just want you to look back and say, man, I'm really glad I listened to that Wally guy, or I'm really glad I listened to that Cody guy. But more important than that will be a week from now, I'm really glad I started implementing what that Wally guy said. Or I'm really happy I started implementing what that Charlotte girl said. Because your life is going forward, whether you like it or not. You can't push pause. You can't really get do-overs. But what you can get, and I promise you this, is you can get do-betters. You can get another opportunity to do better what you didn't do well previously. And that is the gift of grace. It's the gift of personal forgiveness. It's the gift of giving yourself a break. And Deb and I talk about this all the time. We're a relationship of grace. We always are looking for self-hugs. We're always looking for moments that make it okay to not be okay for a moment. And sometimes we even call it messy. And when you're building a team and you're building a business, it's not pretty all the time. There's lots of train wrecks, lots of lessons we learn. But this moment with Wally is a moment that I really want to encourage you to own. If you do nothing else for the next 7 days, write down what you do every hour for 5 minutes. Work 55, write down 5. And I promise you one thing, within about a week or so, you're going to go, holy cow. And just think about every hour that you find that you're doing something that isn't producing income, start thinking, that's another 100, or that's a 200, or that's $1,000 an hour that I just blew. And change. You are worth it. I love that. You're the bomb, man. Thanks.
You bet.
Thanks for joining us. Today, we're giving away one High Trust Sales Academy ticket. This is a $4,000 ticket for our event that will be held this December in Dallas, Texas. And the High Trust Sales Academy, I believe, is the most forward-thinking, complete playbook that we have designed ever to help mortgage and real estate professionals succeed at scale. Join me for 4 days if you win this ticket, and we're going to go through a 350-page owner's manual on how you can have the life and business of your dreams. Pay attention and engage in the chat window. That's where the contest details are going to be announced, and we're going to be picking a winner shortly for the High Trust Sales Academy, December 2021. Welcome back to our next session on day 2 at Sales Mastery. Super excited about this conversation with a good friend of mine, Tom Sherman. Tom's been in our elite group for many years and is an implementer beyond all implementers. I love watching him make things work. You might notice that our background's a little bit different today. Tom was intending to be in our home in Vegas with our shoot, and both he and his wife came down with COVID, and the right move was to stay home and get healthy, and they are healthy. And so Tom is joining us via our technology link here, and I'm glad you're healthy, and it's going to be a great conversation, Tom. Thanks for agreeing to be part of it.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to watch you implement. And I'm always intrigued by, I can see in your eyes whenever we're working together in groups, I can see your eyes change when you have an idea. And it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch people who get excited about ideas. So let me tell everybody that's watching this, we're calling this session the $250,000 idea. The backdrop to that idea is in July of this year, we had our elite group down in Cabo San Lucas, and I encouraged all of them to be prepared to deliver an 8-minute speech that they could dollarize into at least $250,000. And when Tom ran through his deal, I said, we have got to take this to the mastery stage. So it is the $250,000 idea, and it is why a client concierge should be your next hire. So Tom, let's get into this, and let's just cut straight to the chase. $250,000 idea. How did you come about it? When did you start it? And how has it dollarized out for you?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. So where this really began was a few years ago, trying to figure out how do I stay in touch with our past clients? Mm-hmm. How do I stay in touch with them beyond just your typical drip campaign, your typical, send them a birthday card, send them their closing disclosure at the end of the year type thing. And what we were finding is that there was really no model out there where people were doing that well. And so we made the decision of, and we went through the whole process of trying to encourage the loan officers to call their past clients. And, that worked great for about, half a day. And we finally just said, we're going to make the decision to actually hire someone who that is their responsibility. Their whole goal is to be the client concierge and to stay in touch with the past client on behalf of the loan officer who's actually closed the loan. So we took it off of the loan officer's plate. We hired a client concierge, and that was a big deal because, in so many of the things that we do in our business, you're always trying to figure out, can you economically afford to hire this person? Right. And so when you hire a processor, you look, how many loans can they process? When you hire a loan officer, how many loans can they originate? But when you hire a client concierge, it's virtually impossible to track how much money are you making off of this hire. And so we really had to make the decision to say, this is going to be an investment. We, fingers crossed, we hope it works. And if it doesn't, we're going to be out that money. And so we made that decision. We hired a person, and full disclosure, we were learning, they were learning. And it didn't go as well as we wanted to initially. We were committed to the idea, not necessarily the hire. And so now we're on our second client concierge, and it's working really, really well. We've seen some pretty significant growth in the last 24 to 36 months. And we've seen a lot of growth even in the last year as we've started seeing refinances going away. We've seen the purchases pick up. And yeah. I think a huge part of that has to do with our client concierge program.
Yeah. We were in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and if you'll remember, we were in our session and we were talking about this move that I wanted all of our elite members to make, and that was to really pay attention to the sphere of clients that you have served, that you've done business with. And your eyes kind of lit up because at the end of our time together, I went around the room and I asked everybody, what was your one takeaway? And your one takeaway, and this is 3 years ago, I think, your one takeaway was, we've got to get this going. That database is worth so much money and we are just falling on our face. And I think you present a couple of interesting options. The first option is everybody needs to know that you're running a branch and you are producing as well. And you have LOs that aren't doing what we know we should be doing relative to that database. And so one of the great leadership moves, I think, is how do we do as leaders what the people on our team won't do for whatever reason, right? And I'm always scratching my head around the idea of why aren't we mining that database? Why are we not staying in touch? There's so much revenue there and there's so much opportunity there, and it's so much easier to generate business from people that already know, love, and trust you. But we've got to make the decision to serve them in a unique and valuable way. And I know we'll get into it. The second thing that I think is important is when you believe in the process, but it's new. What we know is that all superstars, all winners, top 1%ers, they realize that the wrong way is the right way because it teaches you a better way. What were some of the lessons you learned early on because you had the quote wrong hire? How would you advise people? And then let's jump into the framework of what the actual program looks like.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're right. That was when we were talking about that 3 years ago. That was a big aha for me. And the challenge that I think that I know I was falling into, which means I think probably a lot of people fall into, is you're very transactional in our business. And if you've got an apple that's 1 foot in front of you, you're probably not going to jump over that apple to get the orchard that's a mile down the road, right?
Right.
And that's what we do in our business. So when you've got the phone call is coming in and you're answering the phone call and it's a deal that's got to close in 30 days, very few people will budget the time to say, hey, I'm going to call and cultivate the orchard. And so when we were there in Jackson Hole, that was a big aha because we were looking at several hundred people a year that were closing. And I think you asked the question, if they referred just one person a year, what kind of business would you have? And I ran my quick numbers and it was like, oh my gosh, I mean, it's millions and millions of dollars.
In commissions.
Yeah. And so that was kind of that pivotal point in me where I said, this is something you've got to invest in. I will tell you that for me, I think most of the time we have paralysis by analysis. And so I was worried about hiring the wrong person and, didn't want to make a mistake and knew how expensive that could be. And, so again, you spend so much time just worrying about that. I just didn't hire anybody. And I finally just made the decision, I'm going to hire somebody. And if it's the wrong person, I'll just keep hiring until I find the right person. Of course, you go through the interview process. You're looking for the person who can communicate with people, that they're not afraid to be on the phone. They're not afraid to handle any kind of rejection or negative response from a client. I was really looking for the person that just enjoyed talking and enjoyed helping and enjoyed serving.
Yeah.
And that's what we ended up finding, and the results have been great.
Okay, so let's jump into what the actual framework of the program looks like. I know you've got a lot of numbers that are important to share, and give everybody kind of maybe a little bit of the before and after, and then tell them how you got there. The framework, what are the tools that you use? What does the process look like? And we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's important to understand that we've always been a purchase-focused company. So as long as I've been originating loans, we've been purchase-focused, which obviously is great. But if you lose the opportunity to take advantage of your refis, you're missing opportunities there as well. So what we started doing is tracking these numbers. And if it's okay, I'll share a little bit about what's happened since 2018. But if you look at 2018, January through September, our branch closed 117 million. Okay. 2021, January through September, we're at 173 million. So a little over $60 million increase, which is over a 55% increase in production in 4 years of loans. And that has not been with hiring a bunch of loan officers. That's our same group that we've got. Okay. We've also, and this is what's been more impressive, we've increased our business that is coming from past clients to over 50% of our business.
So 1 out of every 2 loans, a little bit more than 1 out of every 2 loans, are coming from mining that tribe. The clients that already trust you, they've used you, they're referring you, you're doing business with them. And what we tell people in the lead, which is for the entire sales mastery audience, is we would like everybody to get to a point where the number is 60 to 70% of the monthly volume of family served is that database and the relationships there that most likely, if you're viewing this, you probably would put your hand up that you could do a better job nurturing that database, which is really, I think, the most important distinction. I said in 1994 at Mastery, I said, The person who owns the relationship controls the destiny of the loan and all the affiliated services. And when you're able to pull business back in from a tribe of people that know, love, and trust you, it's the fastest business, the most qualified business, the most profitable business, and the most leverageable business, because we do know that realtors don't do this. And if you're doing it, then you have this great arsenal of economic value to produce back to them. So I love your stats. So 55%. So then what does the structure look like that has enabled you to get that kind of lift? Because 3 years ago, it was way below that.
Right. Yeah. So a couple things, and just some shameless shout outs to our elite group. But I've learned so much from everybody at Elite. Two specific individuals that have really influenced my thoughts are Wally and Marty.
Yeah.
And both of them have just given great ideas on things we should do. And from a lender's perspective, I will tell you that in Elite, I started thinking about transformation and getting away from transaction. And so, you know, we've had a whole focus in our branch of going from being transactional to being transformational. Well, to do that, you really have to care about seeing your clients transform. Right? I mean, it's you can't say you're transformational and just focus on the transaction.
Right.
And so we started bringing into play people that could really focus on specific areas of the process, and that was really the first step in the process for us. One of the things that Marty and I have talked for years about is, you know, everybody knows the things they should do. You mentioned the real estate agents know it, the lenders know it. We all know what we should do, but nobody ever does it. And so basically what I did is I looked at the things that I knew I was really, really good at, and I started hiring people for the things that I wasn't quite as good at. And so one of the first things that I did is I hired we call her a customer relations manager, and her job is to handle the file. Once the loan gets through process, her job is to handle it from approval through closing. So the originator, I originate the loan, or one of my team originates the loan. It gets into the processing of the loan. Once that approval comes out, the customer relations manager is involved, and she starts really shepherding that client through the entire transaction. And a lot of the things that she is saying are about transformation. So
powerful word.
Yeah, and you've said so many times, right? It's not what you say, it's the words you use, right? And so I think about that, and Jim McMahon's told me that for so many years. It's not what you say, it's the words you use. And so when you're talking with a client and you say, hey, we're here to help you through this transaction, that's very different than, hey, we're here to be in this transformational process, right? And so you start hearing that word over and over. Well, what our customer relations manager does is she then gets the loan to closing. She goes through the CD with our client, but then she hands it to our client concierge. And so her closing comment is, hey, we're so thankful that we've been able to help you through this process. Again, part of our job is to help transform your financial life. The next step in that is you'll be getting a phone call from our client concierge, who will be walking you through the rest of your financial life with Benchmark and the Sherman team.
I love it. So take us then beyond what you're. So let's take it to the client concierge, and what does the program look like then at that point? What does she do, and what are the processes, and just lay out some of the high notes.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm not a believer that really there's very many unique ideas. So we steal it and we implement it, right? But this is something that Wally had really encouraged us to do was really kind of a follow-up for all of our clients. And so that's what we did. We implemented a 7-day phone call. We implemented a 30-day phone call, then a 6-month phone call, and then a yearly phone call. And that is in addition to some other services that we're going to get into here in just a minute. But very importantly, the handoff goes from our customer relations manager and she'll say the next phone call you're going to get is from our client concierge. The client concierge will call it 7 days. And very importantly, and all this is scripted, and we process it, and we talk about it, and we plan it, and we go through it. And honestly, the client concierge has the freedom to change it as needed when they're in a conversation. But at that 7-day phone call, what they're doing is they're getting feedback on how the transaction went, right? And they're talking about, hey, we want to know how that went so that we can be transformative for our clients moving forward. What's been amazing is when you call a client and you show real genuine interest after the deal has closed, right? They're not expecting that at all, right? They're fully expecting the phone call before it closes, right? They might even be expecting you to show up at closing. But when you follow up after the closing, after you've gotten paid, suddenly they're curious. And so we get a lot of questions like, why are you calling us, right? Even though they've been set up and they know, why are you calling us? Well, the client concierge is then talking about all the different things we can do to help. Hey, do you need a painter? Do you need someone to help clean your carpets? Do you need recommendations for good restaurants? Do you need marriage counseling now that you bought this house and having trouble paying the first payment? But what's been amazing is they'll start at 7 days, and then at 30 days they're following up again. And they're talking about things like, have you gotten your payment book? Have you set up your online payment? Have you thought about making additional payments? And we now start talking about financial freedom. And so one of the things that I'm real interested in personally, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Borrow Smart University that we've done. But one of the things that I'm very interested in is true financial freedom. And Todd, we've all been doing this a long time, but how many clients have we met and we saw get into a house, but we never helped them get on a path to financial freedom, right? And arguably most.
Well, I would say arguably most in two categories. Arguably most in terms of the number of LOs that don't do that, and arguably the number of clients that don't get help from the lender, regardless of who would do it. And one thing I want to point out to everybody that's watching is, as Tom kind of unveils this, you guys need to realize that it's a new day. And the loan originator of the future, the modern loan originator, has got to have a fairly deep palette of understanding on fiscal literacy and at least the 5 or 6 basic money management tips that your clients need to have. And if you're the one that is the bridge between that knowledge and them getting healthier financially, you have them for life. And just to point out, the stats are fairly revealing. I think the lowest I've seen is 71%, and the highest I've seen is 87%. To what? That financial burden and financial matters are the single greatest stressor in that percentage of people's lives. So we have a real opportunity to do something unique and different. And why this position dollarizes so well is because you're helping people achieve financial and fiscal freedom. And that's priceless. You will never have a rate negotiation, a fee negotiation, any of that. You won't get shocked if you're going beyond just the mortgage loan. And that's why we call you a home loan strategist. That's why we use the words that you're going to help people make safe and secure decisions, because this is a big deal. So go ahead. Sorry, I just want to make that point because it's a huge disruptor. It's very unique, and it's also an insurance policy against any economics in inflation, stagflation, consumer confidence. If you're hanging on to your people and you're loving on them, and you're showing true, to your point, curiosity, and they feel that you care about them, you have a monstrous opportunity to serve them for life. And the income is in the millions if you really understand this.
Yeah, Todd, I think you're hitting on something. This is a new day, right? And it's a new day from the real estate agent's perspective. It's a new day from financial planner's perspective, and it's definitely a new day from a loan officer perspective. And I truly believe, and we've taught everybody on our team, that difference is transactional or transformational. And you no longer are going to be middle of the road. Right. You're either going to focus on the transaction and get as many deals as you can as low as comp as you can, just to close as many deals, or you're going to truly invest in people's life and put your resources there and make the decision to be something that is influential in their financial world, which will then lead into almost every other area of their life. Yeah. I jokingly say, marriage counseling, but the reality is we actually have had many clients call us about marital counseling, right? They've looked at us as someone, once they've pulled back the curtain and shown you all of their economic world, mm-hmm. they're going to build a trust with you. And it's shame on us if we just kind of poo-poo that and don't take advantage of really helping our clients with that information.
One thing I would say to everybody is to a borrower, some of the most powerful words when you're having initial conversations. So let me tell you how we are different from most lenders. And I was told when I was a brand new LO by my mentor, he said, you can pursue transactions and you will make a living. You can pursue relationships and you will make a fortune. And I think that's where the goal is, to really understand that if you have the opportunity to work with a first-time home buyer, when they buy their sixth house, you should be doing that loan as well. And we need to understand that because the world is changing and we're calling this an elite consumer-centric marketing. The other thing I want to bring up, since you're following Wally and you've mentioned him, we're talking about residual income. When you have a client concierge, you're actually creating cash flow that most originators don't create, right? So we got about 10 minutes left. Take us through the we know how much more volume you're able to do. We know that the purchase business is growing, and we know that 5.5 people out of every 10 are coming from your database of clients that you've served. What are the tools that you use to add value? I love the 7-day call. I love the 30-day call, 6 month and 1 year. That's what everybody should be doing. But what are some of the tools that you use to create stickiness and value?
Perfect. Yeah. So the first thing is committing to doing it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So once we committed to doing it, then it was about educating ourselves on financial literacy and sales and customer connection, et cetera. So I put all of our clients or all of our loan officers through Borrow Smart University, mm-hmm. which really helped teach financial literacy, gave them the CLA, Certified Liability Advisor designation. So that was number one. Number two, we started taking every client through a mortgage coach presentation when they were either buying, refinancing, et cetera.
Right.
Okay. And so that tool became enormous and still is enormously helpful, super high quality, very, very technical, but very, very easy to use and very easy to understand. Clients love it, puts all of their numbers right on the paper. Once we get through the process and they're closed, we add them into HomeBot.
Right.
Okay. And HomeBot then is a tool that is giving them estimations of what their values are on their home. It's a great tool for them to see how they're increasing their equity. And honestly, it's a drip mechanism where we're staying in front of them constantly with information about the value of their home.
We would not open an email so you could see in this 30-day snapshot what your property looks like, what the homes around you are trading for and what is your equity and all of that. And the other thing is, if you're understanding Mortgage Coach, then one of the beautiful things that program allows you to do, which probably 99.5% of LOs never ask, is how old do you want to be when your home is paid off and you're retired? What is your freedom point? And most lenders never ask that. And so these three tools together, liability management, Mortgage Coach, efficiency checkups, annual reviews, and HomeBot, that's your trifecta, right?
That's it.
Yeah. Wow.
what's funny about all that, Todd, is, you get that phone call from the client, and the client says, "What's your interest rate?" Right? And probably 9 out of 9 or 10 out of 10 or 12 out of 5 loan officers will get scared, they tense up, their eyes start watering, and they don't know what to say. Well, those tools help take that conversation completely off the table. So client says, "Well, what's your interest rate?" My response is, "Well, when do you want to be financially free?"
Boom. Boom. That's a game changer right there.
But what's crazy is then you can come back and say most lenders also just want to give you an interest rate.
Yeah.
We're transformational. I could give you the lowest interest rate in the world, but if I don't help you reach financial freedom, what have I really done?
Yeah. We're on this big kick right now. I've invented this new phrase called conversational productivity. And what it's really about is the questions you ask. And there's 6 different categories of questions, but question number 5 starts with, are you aware? That's it, right? Because if we're going to be in the knowledge business, if we're going to be consultants and mortgage strategists, we need to look at a buyer and say, are you aware that most lenders will never have a discussion with you about marrying up your mortgage strategy with your retirement strategy? Or I can say, are you aware that the lowest rate, with the wrong strategy might cost you a little bit more than a higher rate with the right strategy? Are you aware? And every time you ask an "are you aware" question, you ask because you know that 99% of the people are going to say either, "No, I wasn't aware of that," or "What do you mean?" To your point, we get to have a conversation then that isn't about rate, isn't about product, and is about real value. That's the power of that. Are you aware? Oh, man. So we started off with a $250,000 idea. Tell everybody what it looks like right now, and how we love, we love proving how uniquely implemented strategies like this dollarize. So in the last 3 or 4 minutes, take us home on that.
Yeah, so put it in perspective, that client concierge is going to run you between $50,000 and $60,000 a year, okay? And so I just simply looked at it and said, okay, I've got to generate at least $300,000 in revenue, pay my expenses, and that's my $250,000 idea. Now, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, so that was my very simple math on how to figure that out. And so when you look and see from 2019, we went from 119 million in the first 9 months of the year. 2020, we went to 160 million a year, or for 9 months. That's a little over 40 million. Average commission, it was actually over $1 million revenue for us.
Yeah.
Idea.
So I want to make sure everybody just heard this. This 30 minutes with one hire, well-trained, comped at 50 to 60 grand, is $1 million in cash flow. Right? Yeah, absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So what would you like to say to the mortgage industry beyond just this idea? I love working with our elite guys and gals. I just love watching them thrive. I love watching them be transformed. Love that word, Tom. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given that you want to share with everybody?
Don't be afraid. Have courage to try new things.
And have courage to try new things. And it's a powerful idea when you understand that curiosity is what all high performers have. They want to know better ways to do things. They want to be curious about how would that work out and how would I get that done. And I think the biggest takeaway for me, Tom, other than the obvious, is the idea that you got very vulnerable at the front end of our 30 minutes together and you didn't know exactly how to do it. And I think that is a very important point to make, that you don't have to have anything 100% figured out to begin implementing it. And what will be revealed if you stay curious is nothing but improvements. But you'll never know what the improvements are if you don't start. So I love that thought process. Love that thought process. So thank you so much for being just a good friend. You are a friend before you're a client, and yet thank you for being an elite member and one of the top guys in our group. And it's so fun to work with just the way we think in elite. And then thank you for just taking this idea and just giving us a very clear path on how to implement it. And super grateful for you. And I'm excited to watch you at the end of 2022, because you'll probably have 2 client concierges, and you're probably going to be north of $240, $250 million, and it's going to be a blast. Tom Sherman, thank you very, very much. It was good to be with you.
Thanks, Todd.
Hey, it's always special to, at Sales Mastery, showcase friends of mine that have done really wonderful things as we've watched them win in the market and help others win. And it's so exciting that when you think about the fact that most of these guys, were in the trenches doing loans and then got a vision, and that vision has changed an industry. And one of those guys is Dave Savage, and Dave's joining us right now on our link up here. We're going to have a little conversation about the role that Mortgage Coach gets to play in the modern mortgage experience and the modern loan officer. And next June, Dave's going to be celebrating 25 years that Mortgage Coach has been changing the lives of millions of home buyers and tens of thousands of loan originators and their companies. So Dave, it's good to have you with us at our always exclusive Sales Mastery Dialogue. How are you doing?
Well, I am awesome. It is an honor. I am stoked to be here virtually, but can't wait for 2022 to all be together at the OG location in Palm Desert. I'm fired up.
So serendipitous to think that we are going to celebrate the 30th year at the place we launched Mastery in 1992. I can't wait to have you there. We're going to have it. It's going to be busting at the seams, and it's been a good journey.
Well, and it will also be the 25th anniversary of Mortgage Coach, and Mortgage Coach was launched from the stage of Sales Mastery 25 years earlier. So yeah, we will definitely have to figure out how to celebrate that right.
Amen. Amen. So you have a really good pulse on the market. You have a really good pulse on some of the pivots and shifts that are going on. I think you have a good pulse on like where you kind of think maybe the market is going. I personally believe that Mortgage Coach and the tool that it is and the philosophy behind it is game changing. I think that it changes forever the discussion that a mortgage company has with a borrower. And I think it's a differentiator, disruptor, a defining moment. And it's really powerful. Can you give everybody just like, when were you in bed, like laying there thinking, what am I going to do something special for the industry? What was the thought back then, if you can remember? And then bring us up to what's going on today with America's best mortgage and real estate agents with this idea of Mortgage Coach and all the different elements of it.
Well, I mean, when I founded Mortgage Coach back in the day, it was actually founded around a concept called WOW. WOW Tools is actually still the company name today. So Mortgage Coach is a DBA of WOW Tools. And what I was solving for back in that day was how could I consistently, systematically, predictably get a borrower to either actually say out loud, wow, I've never heard this before. I never knew this before. Or, at a minimum, you could just kind of see that epiphany like, wow, I never thought of that. So that was it. I mean, it was a wow tool that, I would ask questions I learned from you and I learned from the Sales Mastery stage. And then, be able like, oh, did you know that if you refinanced your house and you took that savings and you prepaid it, you can pay off your house 10 years earlier? Wow, I didn't know that.
Wow.
So that was it. It was all about conversion.
Yeah.
It was all about winning with rate shoppers. It was all about creating wow to have a better sales result and a better sales experience. Now, today, I am humbled by the Mortgage Coach platform. It is, we're not right at 10%, but depends on what state you're in the country. Somewhere between 7 and 10% of every loan in every state is getting a total cost analysis. And I am, my goal now is 50% of families that get into debt, they get this TCA. And really my hope for the mortgage industry right now is to go beyond the wow, go beyond the transaction, and take your seat, if you're a loan officer, at the table of you're the captain of the wealth team. And that's a term, I don't know who first said it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was first said from the stage of sales mastery, but that's not a new term, but this captain of the wealth team mindset, like, hey, who cares if I'm broker, banker, credit union? It's like, be the captain of the wealth team, be the best advisor to that family, and start competing with CPAs, financial planners, at giving the best advice experience to a consumer. And that's where my head is at. And that's what I'm going to celebrate really between now and next year, is just that, be the captain of the wealth team mindset. So,
it's super interesting to think about differentiation and disruption, and to really think about the longevity of a client relationship. And I think that, still today in our modern society, there's still a massive population, probably north of 90%, that does not do a good job nurturing their tribe and understanding the power of being the captain of the wealth team, and being the captain of debt management, and being the captain of fiscal literacy, and really stepping in. And I personally believe that even the other opportunities with like financial planners and physicians and, business owners that can provide mortgage coach, total cost analysis. I was looking at a letter that we wrote 10 years ago, was the advisor to client introduction letter. And it was all about, when was the last time you had your mortgage checked up? When was the last time you had a mortgage fitness checkup? And that's what we called it, 20 years ago. And it's pretty amazing when you stop and think about the reaches that, this concept can have. And it's the right thing to do, because I think today, if you're not differentiating, you're dead. Would you agree with that?
I would, but I would go to differentiate as a mortgage professional. You need to go beyond the mortgage transaction. So here's some key stats. Yeah. While there are more than 150,000 MLO loan officers, there's 150,000 that are like legit originators. Yeah. There's 49 million families in America that use a mortgage to finance the American dream. So 49 million mortgages. By the way, that means there's a lot of people that don't have mortgages. But here's some stats that, as leaders of the liability side of the balance sheet. So of America, there's 19.4 trillion in equity. There is 16.5 trillion in mortgage debt. And then when you add up all liabilities, car loans, credit cards, student loans, there's over 34 trillion in liability debt. And so I think, my push to the mortgage loan officer is, you need to own that, and then here's the other thing. America is understaffed when it comes to the liability side of the balance sheet. When you look at the asset side, there's 20 million millionaires in America. There are 654,000 CPAs. Guys, what's that? That's like 4 times the number of CPAs as loan officers. There's 311,000 financial advisors. So there's twice as many financial advisors helping 20 million millionaires. And then there's over 1 million life insurance agents. So like the asset side of America, it's well staffed, it's well resourced. The liability side of the balance sheet in America, it's only got 150,000 loan officers. And most of them, they're just managing mortgages. They're not managing liabilities for Americans. So it's just a great time to be a loan officer, and it's a great time to be the hero. So
yeah, I love
that's what I'm trying to drive.
Be the hero, and then guide people to make safe and secure decisions, and do that at scale. It's very interesting, because I think back to the sales mastery stage, and one of the panels early on, and I believe you were on it, and we started talking about, you guys need to be to debt what a financial planner is to assets. Remember
Boom.
that?
I totally do.
And that was, dude, that was 2 decades ago. And I would challenge, and I may have heard you wrong, but I would challenge that even 90% of loan originators are mortgage managers. I don't think that 90% of the 150,000 at scale understand mortgage management. And
No.
what I know at even a deeper level is it is astonishing to see how many people call themselves a mortgage professional and the deal is done and they're off to the next deal and they're not building this wealth team concept, long-term thinking, and the money that is left on the table by not providing debt value and financial education and repeat business and loyalty and referrals by doing what you're talking about is staggering. And, we look at loan originators that work 40 years and don't get done what the guys and gals can do in 10 years that are actively doing what you're recommending. And I think people need to understand that it is a new day. And I did an interview this morning, and one of the guys that I was talking about, he said in 3 years, we have gone from 31% of our database to being our active business to right now 76% of our business is our active database. And listen to this, 72% purchase in the markets we've been in. And I think that's the big deal here. So what's a big at scale success story? I know we have a lot of mutual friends that are in the business, but if you were to tell the thousands of people at Mastery this year a story about great success, who would you talk about and why?
Wow. You surprised me with that one because there's so many that I would talk about. When you and I were chatting, we talked about Tom Sherman, who I think is just I don't know, when I think of modern mortgage professional, he epitomizes that. He's a great leader to the clients and the partners he serves. He's a great leader to the team that he serves. He leverages technology.
Yeah.
He does old school connection. I'm a human being, you're a human being, and I connect. He just leverages everything. So I think Tom is a great poster child for that. I think you've had Denise Donahue and her sister Deborah on this sales stage this year. The mortgage nerd. Who has created a better brand than her? The way she uses social media, the way she delivers advice. Two amazing leaders and professionals. But the thing I want to push the industry in this year, through next year, is we got to start thinking beyond the mortgage.
Yeah.
And like, I want to give you an example on student loans, because this really ties into the purchase business. I was shocked. I didn't know this, but there's 45 million Americans with a student loan. And then the number that totally blew my mind is, according to the CFPB, 27 million of those Americans are eligible for what's called an income-driven repayment plan. So that means, maybe they went to school to get a doctor, but they're not making doctor money, so they qualify to have it reduced or actually, forgiven. So 27 million of those people with student loans, they're sitting on a much lower payment or forgiveness of that. And by the way, they don't know. 27 million Americans are sitting on right now, no new laws need to change. I'm not talking about all the politics. I'm talking about things that are in place right now. And so mortgage professionals could be unlocking that debt.
Right.
You just have to know this exists. We just partnered with a company called LoanSense, and we created integration where literally a loan officer for free could just, what's your income? What are your student debts? This is what you qualify for. And then let's push that into a total cost analysis. And so I just, model Tom, model Denise, model these modern mortgage professionals, but go beyond the mortgage. Every time you see a student loan, go, hey, let's check this out. Every time you see auto loans and credit cards, don't just go, oh, I want to sell you a debt consol loan. Go, you know what? I want to help you build wealth with real estate.
Yeah.
Let's make sure you have the smartest, most efficient debt structure to achieve your goals. drive that conversation.
Well, and I think what ends up happening is we have to play a game that most people don't know is being played if we really want to win. And this is the game we're talking about. We're talking about going beyond the mortgage, becoming very clear and aware and competent at liability management, and using tools like this to make sure that we help people achieve first financial peace of mind and ultimately financial freedom in the most severe way possible. And there's, to me, what ends up happening is if you don't think beyond the mortgage, you're actually limiting the value you give to a client, which then limits the value the client gives back to you. And I'm still fascinated, Dave, with the idea that so many loan originators are one and done thinkers. And I don't get it. And I know that the Mortgage Coach tribe are not one and done thinkers, because the very reason why your product was created, your resource was created, was to help people go beyond and be different. Why is it that's, in your mind, why is it that such a large population of people that are in that 150,000 don't understand the power of going beyond the mortgage and nurturing and having long-term relationships?
Well, so first of all, to become a successful referral-based local loan officer, you got to be a great hunter. And let's face it, there is a adrenaline that you get from the new partnership, the new deal. And, most loan officers, they're hunter addicts, like hunt, new, that's great. And they're not great farmers. And now I do think that trend is changing, and I'm seeing more and more people building teams, having, staffing it with client concierge and farmers. It is hard to go from I'm a hunter to a farmer to a transaction coordinator. Being a loan officer at a one-man show is you're spinning a lot of plates. But I would tell anybody, and you and I always do tell everybody from stage, if you make your customer experience high trust, and if you make your past customer your number one priority,
done.
Everything else comes into place.
Yeah.
Wally Elderberry is a great example of that. Every time he goes to a sales mastery event, he comes out of it with, okay, this is the year I'm gonna, focus on my past customers, and he significantly increases his business. This is the year where I'm going to go get advisors. And by the way, he is a great example of the captain of wealth mindset and the captain of wealth success. Wally is killing it.
He's an amazing implementer, and he's an amazing student, and it's been a blast to coach him. He told me the other day that his team is doing 100+ borrower calls a day on a 20,000 person database.
Bravo.
And they're on their way to 300 million as a team. And he's an implementer, he's just an implementer. And it's a mind-blowing reality that you don't have to, oh, and by the way, building wealth along the way, right?
Oh yeah. He's investing in real estate.
Yeah. So he's a great example. All right, we got about 5 minutes left, I think, in our time frame. So what do people need to do? You and I have been together. You've been to every sales mastery, and so it's
every single one.
Every single one, right? And it's not a surprise that people know you, and I think love what you do, and you and I are so in sync that it's like I really don't even know this next question, because we're so in sync. But I want to ask you, what do you tell the person who's newer to us, you, me, that doesn't understand this? What can they do to learn more about Mortgage Coach? What can they do to see how it might be able to work in their world, in their business? We know it does work. Tens of thousands of originators, are using the resource and adopting, more importantly, the mindset. What do you tell people? How do we get started? How does somebody from mastery?
So first of all, I hope you tune into our community. mortgagecoach.com is our website. We've got a YouTube channel that we're very proud of, that we feed with content weekly. Just go to YouTube and put in mortgage coach, and we got a Facebook group, Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind. But anybody that's listening to this, first of all, you're part of the sales mastery culture. You're part of the Todd Duncan culture, and you're part of high trust. And it's all part of accountability. I mean, if you have not talked to a high trust coach to talk about how high trust and how Todd can help hold you accountable to execute, I would just say you need to do that. And you need to do that early. I know it's an investment to get into the mortgage business, but if you have a good coach that's holding you accountable with good strategies, not only will you accelerate your success much faster, but you will radically increase the chances that you'll even become successful. Like everybody who says I want to be a loan officer doesn't become a loan officer. There is a failure rate. Yeah. And so I would just say accountability is everything, and content, positive, good content. And I don't know, I mean, between the content you have, the Facebook group you have, the coaching organization that you have, the content we have, the tool we have, I mean, guys, it's up to you now to make time to consume that. When it comes to mortgage coach, I always say that you got to do 20 total cost analysis as quickly as you can. And I don't care if you're brand new in the business, you can do 20 in a month. And you could call everybody that that's a renter and say, you know what? I need your help. Remember, these are people you're calling that know you, like you, and would come to your wedding and say, you know what? I need to get really good at doing this rep versus own thing. Will you let me practice on you? They're going to let you practice on them. You could call up all your homeowner friends and say, hey, you know what? I need your help. I need to get really good at this move up analysis thing. I'm not going to tell you anything, but I just want to do a move up analysis. And so do 20 TCAs within a month, make time for, our two platforms, get coaching. And then again, you got to do the work, and you got to build the habits, and you will be successful.
I'm very proud of you as a friend, number one, and I'm grateful for you proving to the world that high trust works, and having a platform that can definitely change the consumer experience. It's really something to admire, and it's good to be your friend, and good to have you be so much a part of the DNA of sales mastery. And it's fun to watch our mutual clients just win at scale. And it's, I would say to everybody watching this, everybody I know that's in the top 1% of mortgage origination, even the top 10%, they trust Mortgage Coach. And, it is a powerful disruptor, powerful differentiator. So you're the best, man.
Well, you are too. Together, we really are helping mortgage professionals be the best advisor to families. So it's an honor, brother.
Appreciate your wisdom, and continue to do well, as I know you will. And thanks for being our friend, and thanks for being the leader in the business. It's great.
Thank you, Todd.
See ya. Great afternoon, VIPers. Good to have you back with us again today, day 2 of Sales Mastery. And we are going to spend the next